Voices drift on winds untamed, words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes and feel the sound. Journey where no bounds are found. Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find.
Welcome to Meta Mysteries, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Sean.
And today is Wonder Wiz Day. Welcome in the one who are joining us here early for the start of the show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us for the night. What else are you going to be doing on a Wednesday night anyway? It's like
Right.
Tuesdays and Wednesday nights are the most boring nights of the week.
We're making them good again, man. We're trying to.
We're trying. Yeah, that's the goal here. So the fun isn't always just saved for the weekends. You have something to look forward to during the week, which is what we
That's
like to
right.
provide.
Yeah, dude.
That being said, we are going to be getting into tonight. We're going to be getting into Druidism. So if you've ever watched what am I thinking of? Lord of the Rings and like a lot of the magical wizardry kind of stuff, a lot of that lore comes from ancient Druidism.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, dude. And actually, was it J.R.R. Tolkien? That was the author of Lord of the Rings, I think, right?
Okay. Mhm.
And I think I'm bad at this. That was a woman, right? Or am I tripping?
To be honest with you, I never read the books, and I still haven't even seen the movies. Like, there was one time I tried watching one, and I think I caught it like from the middle, and they were like riding a tree, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here. You know what I mean? It was kind of slow, so maybe if I catch it from the beginning, maybe it'll be different, but yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of slow, I was slow. J.R.R. Tolkien is a man, and turns out old J.R.R. was around from 1892 to 1973. He wrote The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and a couple of other things as well. But a lot of those things that he talked about in those movies and in those books and everything was pulled from ancient Druidism, in the same way that the author of Harry Potter was pulling from literally grimoires. So it's not necessarily to say that, you have a wand and power is going to come out or anything like that, which I don't know. Maybe that's what we'll learn tonight. But it's, obviously you're going to need a little bit of movie magic to portray whatever it is you're trying to portray. But we're going to be learning the real stuff. And this is something that I've been wanting to dive into a little bit more lately, too, because, there's some people out there that just don't believe in magic. They don't believe that, in witchcraft, or they don't believe in Wicca, or they don't believe in even certain spiritual philosophies just seem meh to some people.
Yep.
They just, maybe they don't get the concept. They can't understand it from the perspective that it needs to be understood.
There's different levels to it as well. You know what I mean? I mean, there's people that are doing rituals and actually making things happen. We've had Lord Byron on several times, and he does something and it actually works, but then there's another, maybe you can call it a more symbolic side of magic, and so there's different types, I think.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And, you're looking at literally like spirituality and magic, for a lack of a better word, that was going on all around the world in essentially our prehistory. And, we don't really know a whole lot about the Druids because a lot of their teachings were like initiatory, like mystery schools kind of situations. And so maybe they would write it down. But the problem is that they got slaughtered so many times by the Crusaders, mainly the Christian Catholic Crusaders and stuff like
Romans.
that.
Right.
They got roughed up. The Romans, always coming over there and just taking them out. And, if you hear the story about like St. Patrick's Day, for example, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this before, but the story about St. Patrick's Day, well, why that day is so celebrated is because the story goes that St. Patty went to Ireland and killed all the snakes. Okay?
Oh, okay.
That's why it was so celebrated. He killed all the snakes, and that's how the lore goes. However, there are no snakes that are native to Ireland.
Well, not anymore, right? No,
There never was. And
Right.
the idea behind it is that they saw the Druids as snakes, because a lot of times their staff, their magical staff would turn
Yep.
into a snake, or there was always some kind of snake symbolism. Always is within magic, especially you look
Seems
at
to
the
be.
Kundalini and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And so-
absolutely.
And so whenever Saint Patty goes over and kills all the snakes,
Mm-hmm.
that's whenever people are like, "Oh, you just went over and killed the Druids."
Get rid of the Druids, right?
Yeah, big time. So, that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. A little bit of the history on it, a little bit of the lore on it, and we have some rituals that we're also going to be getting to as well.
Of course, man. I'm looking forward to it, man. And we've grazed the subject of the Druids, and I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of rhyming themes when it comes to the Druids or the shamans or the yogis. I feel like they're all kind of in the same vein, you know what I mean? And so I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh, dude, this is like earliest form wizardry.
Right.
Is literally what Druidism is. It's like it's wizardry. And it's going to be so sick. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that I'm going to look that up before I get into that, because I want to say that Hermes might have been a Druid. That's probably wrong, though. But I could see that he could have been. If he wasn't, he would have fit the bill.
Dabbled. Yeah.
Could have dabbled a little bit. But anyhow, welcome in all. Taylor said, "Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday."
Hey.
What's
It
up,
is
Taylor?
indeed.
Asia said, "Happy Wonder Wednesday." And Britt, what's up, Britt? I can never. Sometimes I look at that picture and I'm like, God, she's judging me so hard.
I think, sometimes I forget it's a photo. You know what I mean?
I think Nick was going to be joining us here as well, or maybe he already is here.
That would
Nicholas?
be the best.
That would be nice. Yeah. But anyway, he joined and then he left, so he's probably having some connection issues. But anyhow, let's get over to the story right now. This is going to be a real fun one, and this is stuff that we've talked about for quite a while. We've been wanting to dive into the Druids because it's all tied to magic and wizardry and witchcraft. It's literally like the foundation of paganism, essentially.
Right. For sure.
So whenever you look into like all of the pagan holidays and stuff like that,
Samhain, or what is it called?
Samhain, yeah,
Samhain. My bad.
that's Druidic. Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
So
They understood, that there was an unseen world,
Oh, they absolutely did. We're going to get right to it, actually.
Yes,
so we're going to get into the secret world of the Druids. So who were the Druids, first of all, for anybody that doesn't know? The Druids were the high priests, philosophers, judges, and spiritual leaders of the ancient Celtic world. Far beyond simple shamans, they held immense authority, guiding kings, interpreting omens, leading rituals, and preserving wisdom through oral tradition. Their influence spanned across Ireland, Britain, and Gaul, with a power so strong that the Roman Empire considered them a threat to be eliminated. These were not isolated mystics. They were a class unto themselves, revered as the bridge between the mundane and the divine. What made the Druids unique was their integration into all aspects of society. They acted as a soul of their people, advising rulers, conducting ceremonies in sacred groves, and acting as the memory keepers of tribal law and cosmic lore. To be a Druid was not just a title, it was a lifelong path of learning, initiation, and service. Their wisdom preserved the essence of a people whose lives were woven into the rhythms of nature and to the tuning of the stars. So they were all encompassing. I mean, they were like fully in touch with nature, fully in touch with what was going on in the sky, and they were working with the elements as the majority of like pagans were, if you really look at it.
Right.
So
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because for some reason I was thinking that they were more just trying to be tuned into like the earth and the elements, but it's more than that. It's also the cosmos, and so the great beyond. You know what I mean? And so, because that's what when I look into paganism, it's more earth, I guess, like, paying attention to the wind and the nature spirits, but this existence is so much more than just here on earth. You know what I mean? This is just like the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Oh, dude, and as a matter of fact, what they were trying to communicate with the most was actually not even of this earth. It was beyond the veil. Like that's what like the actual initiated druid was so you could say obsessed with seeing beyond the veil and seeing what they called the other world. Now, they didn't look at the other world like it was the underworld. They looked at the other world, and we're going to read about it here in a little bit, but they looked at the other world as if it was another world that was directly stacked on top of us. Okay?
Oh, okay.
A lot like how, dimensions we know nowadays, right? Dude, they knew this shit way back in the day. Which is not really...
And how else would they have gotten this knowledge? You know what I mean? Like, how do you just stumble upon the knowing... that there are alternate dimensions stacked on top of one another. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure they were dabbling into the psychedelics and the mushrooms, and I don't even doubt it at this point.
No.
No. Especially over in that area, there was probably a lot of Amanita muscaria. They were tripping, the reindeer were tripping, everybody was having a good time. So now we're going to get to the triple druidic roles. So within druidic structure, there were 3 key roles. So you had the bard, the ovate, and the druid. I'm not going to lie. I'm new. I don't know what to do. This is all like I'm gonna butcher words. So don't fry me.
That's fine, dude.
And like we always say, we're not coming across as teachers. We don't know what we don't know.
We're all learning in real time.
We're all learning together. Exactly. Yep. That's what makes it so fun, though, right?
Yep.
And so you had the bard, the ovate, and the druid. Those are the 3 druid rules of the structure of druidism. So the bards were the storytellers, the poets, and the musicians, charged with preserving, damn, I don't know why that word was so hard to say, charged with preserving history, myth, and moral teachings through oral tradition. The ovates were the seers and the healers, specializing in herbal medicine. There it is right there. I knew it was going to come in. Not to say that all herbal medicine is all, trip like psychedelic or whatever, but they were seers, healers, specializing in herbal medicine, prophecy, and the communion with the spirits of the dead and of the natural world. And so that was your ovates right there. I'm already liking them a lot. The druids, in the highest sense, so we went through the bard and the ovate, now we're going to the druid. The druids, in the highest sense, were the philosophers and the priests who led rituals, they taught initiates, and held the deepest cosmic wisdom. These roles often reflect a spiritual trinity, so memory, vision, and wisdom.
I like that.
Wow, that's
the Trinity.
That might be my favorite trinity right there, actually.
Yeah, dude.
Memory, vision, and wisdom. Each path demanded years of rigorous training, often up to 20 years before one could even be called a druid. Together, they formed a holistic system of sacred knowledge that encompassed history, medicine, ethics, astronomy. There's the stars right there. Magic. They got into magic and metaphysics before it was called metaphysics, of course.
Right, of course.
The tripartite division wasn't just a hierarchy. It was a map of human consciousness, integrating the heart, which is the bard, the spirit, which is the ovate, and the mind, which is the druid. Wow. Dude, just imagine how sick it would have been to go through, like, just to commit and dedicate your life to becoming a druid one day. Like, back in the day, you talking about, like, 1,000, 1,500 years ago or whatever? Like, that would have been so awesome.
Oh, yeah, dude. Sign me up,
Sign me right up. I will eat whatever dosage of mushrooms you want me to do. I will do it. So they had sources of knowledge. So the druidic knowledge was never written down. That was definitely on purpose. And not because they lacked the means, but because it was considered too sacred to be fixed on paper. Everything was passed down orally through song, poetry, and ritual. The Druids believed that writing diluted the power of the word, and that true understanding could only be gained through memory and internalization. This created a living tradition, fluid, responsive, and woven into the land itself. Their knowledge came from deep study of the stars, the seasons, the animal kingdom, and what they call the dream world. It said that they could predict eclipses, they could perform surgery, and speak with spirits. They used sacred symbols like the Ogham, Ogham, I'm sure I'm butchering that word. The sacred symbols like the Ogham alphabet carved onto stones and trees, not as a writing system, but as a magical tool of divination and resonance.
Like runes.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
How about that? Their wisdom wasn't just empirical. It was experiential, mystical, and encoded into the very landscape that they walked. Oh my God. What a cool life to live. I mean, you know, of course, whenever you got the Crusaders coming, that probably wasn't very cool, but
yeah, dude.
you know, I mean, you're getting fucking butchered just because, like, you said abracadabra one time.
Trying to learn some shit, you know what I mean? Just expand your reality. That's all, dude.
Yeah.
Commune with spirits.
People don't like that, you know?
Yeah, it is what it is.
That reminds me of, dude. That reminds me of the one time we were tripping and we were outside and we were outside. We were looking up at the stars and you started saying something and you were like, but people don't know, they don't want to hear that. And I'm like, what the fuck are you so worried about other people for? Like, this is for you.
It's because I was tapping into the collective. You know what I mean?
Oh God, that was a hilarious. Like, I was dying laughing whenever you were saying that because I kept on telling you, stop worrying about what other people think. Like, this is just for us. I'm over here crying and thinking about it.
I think it was just a sense of like, man, because you know, in that moment when we're looking at the sky, dude, and it just looks like magic in the sky. It's like I want everyone to experience this. Like, I feel like everyone should, you know, but it's like I don't know.
No, I know. I get it. I was just like laughing because I was like, I know you get it, but for some reason you care so much about what people think.
Yeah.
And,
oh, absolutely, dude. I'm an empath, man. You know? I
mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So anyway, all right, let's move on from all of the craziness. Now we're going to get into the Druidic lore and the cosmic worldview. So to the Druids, nature was not a backdrop. It was a living deity. Every tree, river, mountain, and animal was sacred and animated with spirit. See what I'm saying? That's how we should be looking at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why?
Absolutely.
Here's my thing. Why do we think that the human, and I'm not trying to bash humanity by any means, but why do we think that the human is so much more than everything else? You know, like, why can't a mountain have a spirit inside of it like we do? Why can't, a dog, like some people like literally think that animals don't have spirits. I'm like, how?
that kind of bugged me. You know what I mean? Because I was talking to somebody about that and they're like, oh no, animals are just they're just animals, they're just, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like they would have some type of soul. Like, there's an energy within them, that's animated them and made them have emotions. I'm sure dogs have emotions, cats have emotions. And so the thought that a cat or a dog doesn't have any soul or spirit or anything like that is just kind of sounds silly to me, dude.
It does. And especially, dude, your dog knows when you're upset. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do they know that?
Yeah, and I think that's the argument that is made, is that they don't have the intellect, to express like a type of free will that we have. You know what I mean? They don't have the intelligence to necessarily make things happen, I guess. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's kind of the going argument.
Well, I disagree with it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So it says the oak tree especially was revered as the cosmic axis, the world tree connecting heaven, earth, and the underworld. That's what the oak tree was, very revered like that. A lot like the tree in Avatar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This reverence created a culture where harmony with nature was not just encouraged, it was essential. Their gods were not distant creators, but personifications of natural forces like the sun, wind, and even fertility. This spiritual ecology meant that druidic rituals often took place outdoors, in sacred groves or near springs, where the veil between worlds was the thinnest. Oh, a spring would... Oh, that makes sense. Like, you hear about the woods, like, having some kind of portal action going on over there, but I never thought to think of springs. I guess that makes sense, though.
Yeah, I mean, and to think about, trying to always have harmony with, I mean, look at it this way, just have harmony with your surroundings, as far as it's saying with nature, people around you even are also part of nature, I would think. And so why wouldn't you want that harmony?
Right. Yeah, you may as well just be in harmony with all of it instead of just people. I mean, sometimes people suck. Sometimes you just want to go out and walk into a forest and put your feet on the ground and ground a little bit, look up at the stars. Like, dude, that's like some of the most relaxing shit you can do. So it really is kind of like a relationship that we do have with nature in that sense.
Oh, absolutely.
I would say so. So nature was, I like this. And nature was their temple, their scripture, and their teacher. Their ethics too reflected this reverence. So you had balance, reciprocity, and right relationship with the land where was foundational. So you wanted to be able to have balance. You wanted to be able to reciprocate. If you took something from the land, you give it back. And you want to be able to develop some kind of relationship with the land that was foundational, because they believe that the land, it had a spirit of itself, and they're not the only ones. Like, you look at all the natives, they're the same exact way.
Absolutely, dude. And that was the thing too with the Druids, is that instead of going to a temple, to worship or to, do any kind of spiritual practice, they would go into like an open field, and just kind of be more unified with nature, dude. I dig that, dude. I dig that.
I think that if there's ever, like, one day we're going to get to a point where we're holding conventions. Like, I just know that it's going to happen. And because, we're just going to manifest it, right? And it's going to be, bring your spiritual weirdness to this convention. You want to practice magic, you want to practice witchcraft, you want to practice druidism, you want to do a CE5 kind of event. Like, let's just all get so totally weird and be like an outside pavilion kind of thing. Like, you want to be outside for this kind of stuff, I think.
I mean, and it's funny too, whenever we do explore the mushroom trip, we want to go outside. It's almost like automatic. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for it to kick in. I'm looking over at you and I'm like, all right, come on, let's go outside. Like, that's my favorite shit to do.
Yeah.
It's just the best, dude.
Nothing compares to it.
Nothing.
Because you feel like, oh my God, I see why they revered the land and the sky and everything so much. People for thousands of years did. And it really wasn't until like the last 100, 150, maybe even 200 years that people were just like, we're going to stay inside tonight. You know what I mean? Like, people always had houses, but, air conditioning wasn't
Technology,
even a thing until
dude.
like not that long ago. So, So it says, to harm the earth was to disrupt the sacred order of life, a concept eerily relevant in our modern ecological crisis. Yeah, whenever you got Bill Gates telling people that it's better to just cut down trees and bury them to help our carbon footprint, sorry, Bill.
That just seems counterintuitive, man.
Very counterintuitive. He's not, whatever.
But I'm no scientist, I could be wrong. But I don't think I am.
Yeah, I don't think it takes a genius to know that, like, whenever we breathe out, the trees breathe in. Like, we were taught that at a young age,
Yeah, dude. Watch Lorax,
I love that movie. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, and Horton Hears a Who, dude. That's probably one of my favorite ones of all time.
Jim Carrey, dude.
He just goes hard in everything that he does.
I actually just watched Bruce Almighty, and I haven't seen that in like a decade. I feel like it's solid.
Wait, when did you watch that?
Just yesterday.
That's weird. I had this weird, like, lingering feeling that, like, oh, you know what? I wonder if Kenzie's ever seen Bruce Almighty. That would be a good show to watch.
Me and Sophia watched it together. And she sat there and the whole time and watched the whole thing. And when a kid can sit there and watch a whole movie at the house, it's a big deal. Because usually they're just like, their mind is all over the place. Or on the iPad or whatever. So, yeah, it was pretty awesome.
That is cool. Great movie, too. So, all right, we're going to get to what they call the 3 realms of existence as far as the Druids are concerned.
Okay.
The Druids envisioned the universe in triads, one of their most sacred spiritual keys. Central to this was the concept of the three realms: the land, the sea, and the sky. These weren't just physical zones, but metaphysical dimensions. Land represented the physical body and stability. The sea represented the emotional, dreamlike, and ancestral realm. Makes sense. And the sky represented the divine mind, celestial wisdom, and inspiration. These three realms were constantly in dynamic interplay, and the Druids sought to harmonize them through ritual, song, and internal alignment. Wanted to harmonize the land, the sea, and the sky and be a part of that. Wow, that was probably awesome. This triadic system also mirrored the Druidic motto, which was truth in the heart, strength in the arm, and integrity in the tongue. Each realm had its sacred guardians, its own energies, and its own ways of being navigated. Understanding these realms was crucial, not only for magic, but for navigating the soul's journey through life and death. So, I like that. If we could only get back to something like that.
Well, it's going to take some time, dude, but I mean, even us, we spend time inside the house and we're doing work, or you're editing or what have you, doing research. It's like you have to kind of make it a point to go, oh, I'm going to go outside, even if it's just for 5-10 minutes. I do it just about every day, but it's only for about like 5 minutes, because it's so fucking hot. Even at night, dude, the sun's down, it's 100 and something degrees. I'm like, that just ain't right, dude. Yeah. Something ain't right with that.
Oh, you out there in the desert. It's still, it's pretty damn hot over here in Texas too.
Oh, I'm sure.
But and I'm going to be moving back to Louisiana here in a few months. And
it's going to be muggy.
Oh, dude. You want to talk about humidity? Dude, humidity is always like 98%.
That's stupid.
It's like,
that should be illegal.
Let me just become a fucking amphibian at that point.
Right.
Like I'm just going to swim.
Right.
So, all right. Now we're going to get to the other world, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Oh, it says it right here how it's pronounced. So it looks like Sidhe, but so it looks like Sidhe, but it's pronounced she. I don't know how they get that.
Makes sense. Yep.
Checks out. Yeah, checks out. And it says in Druidic cosmology, the other world was not an afterlife in the Christian sense. It was a parallel reality existing just beyond the veil of this one. The she, or that word that I said earlier, so the she or fairy folk, we're getting into the fae here now.
All right.
Or the Fae folk were powerful beings who dwelled there, sometimes helpful, often trickster-like, and always mysterious. Caves, burial mounds, and mist-covered lakes were seen as portals to this realm. Oh my God, I didn't know that. Dude.
Didn't know it went that deep, dude.
Yeah, because I think that like, you grow up watching Disney movies and you're like, oh yeah, the little brownie, the elf, or the leprechaun, or the fairies, they're here in this realm, they're just hiding kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But dude, they exist literally here, but in maybe another type of dimension, and people were communicating with them. Sounds very similar to what people
saw them.
And
right.
And I imagine that you would. Yeah, Garrick, shout out to the homie. But I imagine that you would see them if you're going through this druidic type of initiation. You're like one with the land, with the air, with the sea, right? And you're doing all these rituals and all these different rites, and like you're dealing with herbology and probably a little bit of sacred herbology, right?
Right.
And so that's probably what they were seeing. And if you think about it, they were probably, if they were tripping, it was probably on mushrooms or some kind of like weird tea or something like that, right? And if you're in communion with the land, maybe the land will be in communion back in with you, right? In that sense.
Just got to open up that communication, man.
Oh, I thought you were going to go there.
I wonder, they had to have been meditating, right? I feel like that's the thing that, even if they said they were or not, like maybe they called it something different for all we know, but I feel like that's just one of those things in human nature to do or to find and then practice.
I'm sure. Yeah. There's no way they weren't. especially if you're sitting out, like you're doing rituals and you're doing ceremonies, and if you're trying to get in contact with the land, like you're not going to be like out there saying, please tree, talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's probably, you're probably sitting underneath the tree meditating with it.
And if you want to explore the unseen, you might as well close your eyes, you know?
May as well. Yeah. What was it? Carl Jung that said, those who look outside dream, those who look inside awaken.
Oh, love it.
That's a good one. So yeah, they talked about how caves, burial mounds, and mist-covered lakes were seen as portals to this realm of, you know, getting to talk to the Sidhe or the Fae folk. Druids believed that during certain times, especially during Samhain and Beltane, this veil thinned, allowing beings and souls to pass between worlds. Communication with the other world was not forbidden. It was an essential part of their spirituality. Oh, let's go.
That's during the equinox, right? Both of those, or is it the solstice?
Samhain's around Halloween, so that would probably be the fall. Let's see, the fall solstice. Is it fall solstice? I feel like that I'm saying that wrong.
Oh, look it up.
Yeah. I'm still new to learning all of the different you know, the Druid holidays, and we always talk about like Samhain and Beltane like during the holiday, like during Halloween.
Right. For some reason I thought both of those were like equally like 6 months apart from each other. Or am I thinking of something else?
They very well could be. No, they very well. I know for a fact that Samhain is fall. Beltane might be the spring one. Might be the spring equinox.
Okay.
But anyway, so they believe that that during certain times, especially during Samhain and Beltane, the veil is thinned, allowing beings and souls to pass between the worlds. They looked at communicating with the other side as an essential part of their spirituality. Ancestral spirits, gods, and elemental forces could be contacted for guidance, healing, or initiation.
Yes.
I feel like that's what we do every night, bro. Whenever we meditate and we really go in, like, and I don't know what it is. I don't know who we're communicating with, but you don't feel alone. You know what I mean? Like, there's something
dude,
there.
that is the most important thing, man. When I've been getting into my meditations lately, like right before bed, man, that is the one thing that I feel, and it's kind of strange, man. Like when you feel like there's some other intelligence, you know, and it's kind of, I can almost see movement and stuff like that. And I know that there's a natural thing that happens with your eyes where it's like, it's all, your eyeballs are always ready to see light, and there's a term for that, and I forget what they're called, but this is not that. Like,
No.
It seems like there's something else.
The veil's
and
thin.
I just don't know what it is. Right.
The veil is thinning. Yeah, 100%. And we say that, like, even whenever we're doing like psychedelics and stuff together, that like it feels like that world is always there in the peripheral.
Yes.
You know,
it's a whole different, like it's in the place that you're in, but it exists outside of your normal perception is all.
Yeah,
like,
outside of like
the
your
best way
eyeballs.
to put it, I think. Right.
Yeah. It's like a gnosis type of knowing.
Yes. Exactly.
God, I just love that.
I got a 4-day weekend coming up, so I think I might take a little trip, and then we'll see what happens. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Depends on how much junk food I eat. You know what I mean? Because if I do that, then it's like, no, thank you. You know, been there, done that.
Oh, dude, you just look at this whole weekend, or at least that day, as an initiation, and like this is what I'm doing today, and I'm gonna drink my water. I'm gonna eat healthy.
Might even just eat one meal that day. You know what I mean? And just in full preparation.
Do it at like 3 or 4. You know, and that way you're ready for the night.
I might have to wait till later than that, actually. So it might just go through the night. You know, but it's just gonna be a solo journey. You know, and just see what happens, man. I'm kind of nervous, but you know, I think it'll be all right. I've been there before, so I shouldn't be too nervous. But you know what I'm talking about. You get a little nervous right before. You're like, and then as soon as it kicks in, you're like, okay.
There it is.
I know where this place is.
I remember it now. Why was I so scared?
Exactly.
It really does feel like you're in another world. And that might be the other world, honestly. Like,
that's probably, that probably is the other world.
Yeah.
The treehouse. Yeah.
So they So let me just read that last part again. So ancestral spirits, gods, and elemental forces could be contacted for guidance, healing, or initiation. This belief system shaped their understanding of death, transformation, and the immortal journey of the soul.
Makes you wonder, though, why the Crusaders decided, that fuck these guys. They're over there like exploring consciousness and trying to figure out this reality. Can't have that shit, dude.
No, because we need them to believe in our God.
Right. Goes against their narrative.
Yeah, because all those fairies that you're seeing, that's demons, dude.
Obviously.
Like they don't care about you. Like they're actually going to be always to your detriment. And
they're going to give you nice messages. It's going to seem really, really intelligent, and it's probably going to help you. But in the end, going to hell.
Well, and that's something, actually, our boy that we just recently had on the show, old Jonathan, for the Iboga talk.
Oh, yeah, right? I love that guy.
He actually posted something on TikTok, thanking us for allowing him to come on the show and talking about Iboga and all the weird rabbit holes that we went into. Really great guy. But he goes, hey, I have a suggestion. He goes, can you guys do a show on the djinn? And I started looking up, and I was thinking about running with that today. But the problem with the djinn is that it's so tied into demons. And I'm like, I don't know what I believe about that. Like, if you're saying that it's demons, but then we looked up the other word demon, and it goes back to daemon, and it's like the daemon wasn't even necessarily, it could have been a good thing, could have been, even Pat kind of thing, but wasn't always necessarily looked at as evil, right? I mean, it's your higher self, essentially, is how we would call it nowadays. But, and that's actually what they say about the djinn as well, is that the djinn, they believe that it could be, it could be good, but most of the time it's bad like a demon. And I'm like, I don't want to spread fear like that. Like I'm just, I like becoming aware of what it is and stuff like that, but I believe there's so much more good that you can do to where, there's enough people out there that are talking fear, that are trying to get you scared, that are trying to get you to stay in your house, that are trying to get you to just pamper yourself. And what we're trying to do on this show is to essentially enhance your own well-being, enhance, your own higher self, your own conscious and your subconscious mind and everything like that. That's why we love diving into all this magic type of stuff. And not even just magic, Hermeticism and, Taoism, like all of them, like they're all pretty positive things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, as we all know, that belief, the power of belief is so strong, and so I think if you really start dabbling in the understanding, you start to really take that on as if demons are real and they're going to come and get you, and then you're going to need a young priest and an old priest. And you know what I mean? It's like you can start to really believe in that and it starts to fester. And now you're making yourself sick because the power of your mind can work both ways, equally as strong, and so, yeah, dude, I'm with you on that.
Oh, dude, I mean, your mind, and even just beyond that, your higher mind is connected to what some people would refer to as the Force. I mean, you're going to sit there and say that your mind is evil? Well, no, you would say it's, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it's against me kind of thing. And I think that that's the majority of all of these things. They all have a spirit about them. Well, and if you're looking at a spirit, maybe they, at one point in time had a physical body, or maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe they're existing in another realm to where they don't need a physical body. But most spirits, there's always going to be a pro and a con. Like we could talk all day about how trees are amazing and they're good because they soak up all the carbon and they help us breathe and it's really good for the soil and shit like that. Well, it could also be bad if a fucking lightning bolt strikes it and that tree lands on your house and kills you. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's always the dualistic nature of our reality.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is to, as far as getting in touch and really trying to be in tune with all of this is, because you're going to have your higher self and I think you're going to know when it's your higher self because it's going to be something positive. It's going to be something, direct and something you need to know. And then you're going to know when it's your ego or your monkey mind or whatever you want to call it, when it's talking shit about you, That's just the part of you that feels as though you don't deserve, or for whatever reason. I don't know, but I think those are the two voices that you hear,
You know what's
and just
funny?
understanding the difference between the two.
Exactly. Yeah. What's funny is that last night we did a live show for the Cult of Conspiracy, and I started talking about, how, one of the affirmations that you can tell yourself whenever you're meditating is you say that I'm not the body, I'm not even the mind. I'm not the body, I'm not even the mind, right? And it starts to really trip you out because you're like, if I'm not the mind, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I'm my mind. Like, everybody assumes that that's who they are, is their mind. And that's just not true. You got to look at the mind as you do, your kidneys, your liver, your lungs,
It's doing
your
a
heart.
job.
You don't complain. You don't complain whenever your liver's like, you know what, I'm gonna slack a little bit today. You probably wouldn't even notice for the most part, right? But it's whenever our mind starts to, ebb and flow as it does, that's when we're like, oh my God, it's going to determine if we're going to have a good day or a bad day. And I was telling people on the show, I was like, dude, you got to be able to separate yourself from your mind. If you, and that's what I was saying. I was like, that's why we meditate on every show, because we're literally trying to detach ourselves from our mind and see beyond that and just observe the mind and observe the thoughts and observe like all the things that could influence you and could suggest to you certain things. And you know what I mean? And some people were just like, you're going to separate yourself from your mind, bro. I was like,
see,
come on,
I know,
man.
I know exactly what you mean. I was talking to somebody recently. I forget exactly what I was talking about, but I'm sure it was something woo woo, or something spiritual of that nature. And of course, these people are very religious. And as soon as I started talking about what I kind of look into and what I'm believing in, or just getting personal with myself, this was the first time that I was kind of like expressing certain things that I think about. And immediately it was like, no, that's dumb. That's wrong. And I was like, wow, okay, well, I mean, I let you tell me everything about what you believe. And I was like, man, that's interesting. You're probably right. Like just like to you, you're right. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But as soon as I spoke up about something a little bit woo woo, like it could have been even, I don't know, something as simple as like, I mean, we might be dreaming right now. You know what I mean? We don't really know what's after this. We might wake up into another existence. And it was something along those lines. And they were like, no, that's wrong. I was like, whoa, okay. Well, now I don't have to think about it no more. Now that I know that that's not even close to being correct,
Yeah.
So,
no,
but yeah, that's kind of the treatment, I get sometimes.
Well, that's just the idea that some people have one perspective and they don't know how to see beyond that. And that's okay. And that's why it's always been said that whenever the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Like I feel like all of this information is always all around us. Like even a lot of the stuff that we talk about, even dating back when we were little kids, we would watch Disney movies and stuff like that. Peter Pan and, Alice in Wonderland and like all of these like real like magical, philosophical type of ideas and theories of the way that you look at this world. That's why, whenever we were younger, Matilda had such an impact on my life because I was like, dude, imagine if that was real, because whenever you watch these fantasy movies, they take you out of the perspective of normal reality and they make you wonder what if, and that's what's so powerful about them.
Right. If you can suspend your disbelief long enough to create an experience that you wouldn't have had otherwise. I feel like that's what we do with all of these different modalities and meditation and psychedelics, and you're suspending your sense of what's normal and your physical world that you've come to know, and say, okay, but let me just kind of wipe that for a moment and see what I experience now. It's like that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. Like, what we aim to do on this episode is to literally break your illusion of whatever life you think you're living in. And because that's my favorite thing to do. Like, I want to be mind blown. I want to look at this reality completely different on a daily basis by observing, other spiritual teachers and practitioners and researching philosophical topics and spiritual topics and stuff like that, because you're looking at entirely different perspectives. And that's where I think that a lot of people get it wrong. They think there's only one perspective, and through that one perspective, there's only one right answer. And through that one perspective,
I used to think
that's
that way
probably
as well.
true.
Well, I used to think that way, as far as whenever somebody would bring up, God or religion or whatever it was, man, I was like, well, I don't know. That just seems, and I think I've even said it before, like while we were still learning all this stuff and before I really came to the understanding that I'm at now, was that like, no, that doesn't sound real. It sounds like bullshit. It just sounds like something someone wrote down to create some sort of power and to really control the people. And now I think, well, at least for me, I understand a little bit better, and they're probably right, dude. For their existence that creates the best life they can imagine and it really guides them, then I would never tell them they're wrong. You know what I mean? Now I understand a little better.
Well, and the thing is too is that, see, magic and healing and communicating with the other side, whether it be through prayer or whatever, it's like it already seems a step too far for most people in general, because it's like, I can't see it, therefore it isn't there, right? But then certain people, they're like, you know what, my family, maybe they go to church or whatever, I'll give it a shot. They seem to be doing really good. They for some reason, they know that this shit is real, right? And then they go themselves and they experience it. And they're like, oh my God, Jesus, a real thing. And that was kind of my experience.
You've experienced that. Yeah.
That was my experience, because I was wanting to dabble into, the spiritual world in a sense. And I started with Christianity, and I went to church for over a year every single Sunday. And I was trying to see if it was real. And lo and behold, I found out that it was. Whenever you do talk to Jesus and you do communicate with him and you do, prayer and, all of the things that he was trying to teach everybody, you start to see like like Jesus starts to mimic in your real life in real time. And you'll ask for a sign, and like literally almost damn near instantly I was seeing the sign, like extremely synchronistic. And I was like, and I was so mind blown by that. And so I could see how somebody would say, wow, I saw it. This is the truth, because this is the thing. I know it works. I could see how somebody would say that. But where my mind went, I was like, dude, this stuff works. If this is the only thing that works, I need to verify this. I need to check, because it's possible that other things also work. And if other things also work, then it's not the only way, but it is a way. And that's what I was trying to verify.
Now you're just exploring the playground of consciousness itself. Because that's how it's going to work. You ask for something, it's going to show you more of that, and some guy was telling me, well, you just got to open up, man. You just got to open up your heart to Jesus. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, if I do that, I'm probably going to experience Jesus, but we've also experienced other entities and other, whatever you open yourself up to, because your mind says, okay, let's go there and let's show you this, and you got to meet Garrick. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that that's how it works, or at least that's what I understand at this moment.
Oh, dude, like we literally flew on dragons in a meditation.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, it's so weird. And you were like, I don't know about you, I was getting all the sensations. I was getting the wind going through my hair, and I felt the
full visuals,
like everything. And it was like, even looking at the dragon scales, and I could feel it breathing on me, and like there
was a connection of some sort,
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is my dragon, but you ask somebody that's already kind of locked into a certain way, which is fine. Like I said, if someone's super happy with and content with their life where they are, then that's fine. But if you ask somebody like that to open up their mind or their heart to seeing a fairy, they're going to be like, no, that's dumb. I'm not going to do that.
That's not real. I don't believe
well,
in
then
that.
You're not going to meet a fairy then,
Yeah. It's the I don't believe in that gets me. I'm like, but what if you did? Would you see it?
Yep.
Is that why?
Because it's probably all real, dude. Right. If you accept it.
Yeah. And Britt said, yep, that seems how they all are. So sad. Yeah, very one track minded, can't see but beyond their own perspective. And it is difficult. It takes a lot. It's we're not saying that the spiritual journey is all rainbows and butterflies. There's going to be very high highs and very low lows, because you're going to be like, all right, how does the situation I'm going through in my life, how does it pertain to the spiritual world, and how am I supposed to react to this kind of thing spiritually? And it's chaotic at first, because there's so much to learn.
Right.
But man, once you get it, and I'm not even saying we fully got it, but we've tasted it so many times.
Or at least have the awareness, like you said, to stop and think about it and go, okay, what the situation that I just experienced, it made me not feel good. Okay. But that's not just something outside of me happening. Why did it make me not feel good? And like you can really dig into that and just bring that level of awareness to those things. And dude, I'm telling you, it's so much more than just one thing, dude. It's across the board, man.
And
You
what's
know, and-
amazing is that people can watch movies like fantasy movies, whether it be Avatar or whatever your favorite Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, whatever.
It's like,
the
I don't
case
believe
is.
in this. They just turn it off. You know, they're like, no way that's real. You know, it's like,
Right.
well, it's a movie, you know, just suspend your disbelief for just a moment.
But
you know?
but even farther, the people that will sit through it and they're fascinated. Oh my God, this world! I wish we lived in this world. You know how many people committed suicide from watching Avatar because they wanted to live in that reality?
I heard about that.
Like that's a real thing. And you know, people just get wrapped up in that kind of fantasy realm, and it's like, man, if you knew about this stuff right here, you could go there anytime you want through meditation,
Right.
through, you know, sacred medicine, and there's a lot of different types of ways. But
Yeah.
you know, it's like, dude, meditation, it takes you to the infinite world of whatever you want it to be. You know,
Yeah.
you can go wherever you want. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Love it.
It's like the DeLorean, bro. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I actually just said that to my daughter yesterday. That's so funny.
Oh, really?
We're tapped in right now, dude. It's weird.
I think we are.
And I love it.
Britt said, we had Matilda on VHS when I was a kid. That was my sister's favorite movie, so we watched it so many times. It's pretty great, though. That movie had a major influence on me. It was Matilda and Hook were the two
Hook
ones
was
that got me.
great, dude. Yeah, Hook was great.
Yes, love that. Shout out Robin Williams, R.I.P.
Yeah,
One of
dude.
the
I think I
best.
need to show them. I think I showed my kids that movie one time. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to show them again, maybe this weekend.
Dude, we watch it once a year in
A
this
little
house.
reminder, you know.
We watch it once a year in this house, baby. Yeah,
It's so good.
it is. Let's see. Taylor said, discernment is a skill that most people lack.
Yeah, fact.
Big facts. Britt said, yeah, I don't believe that is crazy to me, but they don't stop to really think why they believe what they believe. They really only believe those things because they grew up being told these beliefs. So it's all they've ever known. Anything that contradicts that causes too much conflict in their minds. Absolutely
and fear.
does.
And fear. You know, fear is the big one, man. You start to dabble into something because you just out of curiosity, and everything you've grown to know is that that's wrong, you know, and you're going to either get a demon attached to you or you're going to go to hell. And it's like, well, no wonder you don't want to explore your own experience and existence and find out who you really are. You know, it's like,
Well,
it's roped off, man.
and what causes fear more than anything than the unknown? You know?
Right.
And of course, whenever you're dabbling into this kind of stuff, a lot of it is very unknown, you know, because you grow up in a society where only one or two, maybe three different religions are okay, you know, and everything else is of Satan. He's just trying to, you know, pull the veil over your eyes. And it's like, man, they really got people with that one. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
and you know, and it, like you said, it really is across the board. I mean, I feel like you can go too far in either direction with really anything you think about or try to understand or start to believe in. You know, if you take it too far, you can go off the deep end either way, you know. And so that word discernment, I feel like is one thing that we all need to focus on and just understand, you know, get grounded and be like, okay, I'm fine. Don't fear. You know what I mean? So
head in the clouds,
where we need to
but
be.
my gravity centered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
baby. All right, now we're gonna get back to it. Oh wait, Taylor said, right? How can you not? I went to a seance in New Orleans. It changed my life. Definitely a cool place for all that stuff. A seance.
That would be
love
cool,
that.
dude. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. And dude, especially down in New Orleans, a lot of voodoo, hoodoo. And it's not only that. I know people think in New Orleans, they only think voodoo. It's not just that. It's actually like a lot of different forms of
all
like
encompassing, right?
Dude, like literally every quarter mile you walk, you're going to see somebody sitting at a table wanting to read, your tarot or look into a crystal ball, or somebody's going to be a psychic or something, whatever. It's always going to be something like awesome and magical like that, which I do love New Orleans for that. Like if it wasn't for New Orleans, I don't know if I would have gotten this far,
really?
That was a big jumping point. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? There are no accidents, man.
No accidents at all. So all right, now we're gonna get into the fun stuff. The types.
I was already having fun too.
Oh, it's gonna get even more fun.
All right, dude.
The types of magic practiced by the Druids. Number 1, you have elemental magic. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
Druidic magic was rooted in the natural elements: earth, air, fire, and water, each representing different forces within the self and the world. Earth was the realm of stones, trees, and sacred herbs. Air carried the breath of speech and incantation. Fire represented transformation, passion, and solar rites. Water was healing, memory, and the flow of intuition. The Druids used each element in precise ways to balance energies, call upon nature spirits, or shift consciousness. Their magic wasn't theatrical, it was relational. To call upon fire was to speak to the sun as a living being. To gather herbs was to do so with offerings and permission from the plant spirit. Oh man, I love that. Elemental rituals included walking labyrinths, invoking winds, lighting...
Invoking winds.
Invoking winds. Yeah, dude. Where was I? Invoking winds, lighting solstice fires, or creating healing potions during full moons. Their understanding of nature wasn't just symbolic, it was deeply practical, drawing real power from alignment within elemental consciousness. I love elemental magic. That's one of my favorites.
It's funny because it's everything that you've just read right now. It just reminded me of the Magician. It's like this, all the same shit, dude.
It is. It all draws from. I mean, dude, they were
fundamental
all doing,
understanding.
Yeah, and nowadays, I mean, yeah, there are people who maybe they would say that they're into druidic magic or elemental magic, but nowadays this aligns with like what people might call green witches.
Oh, right.
Same thing,
Yep.
So especially if you watch that Agatha, they needed like all these different types of witches, and the Green Witch was
such a good show.
I love that show, dude.
It's a great one.
But they needed the Green Witch, which was Eric Foreman's mom from that 70s show. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah, that was elemental magic. That's one of the types of magic. Another one is divination and prophecy. So the Ovates, the seers of the Druidic class, specialized in divination and prophecy. They observed birds in flight. They read signs in nature. They casted Ogham sticks carved with sacred trees. Okay, yeah, that's literally runes, right? And a version of runes anyway, at least.
Well, it's reminding me of The Alchemist. He was watching the birds, and then he knew like war was coming because he learned the language of the earth or something like that, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah. That was such a good book too. So yeah, they casted Ogham sticks carved with sacred trees and even communed with the dead to gain insight into the future. Some practiced dream incubation, sleeping in sacred groves or stone circles to receive visions.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
We're doing it. We're doing that.
That reminds me, what is that place called? The Circle of Heads?
I can never remember
on
the Easter Island, no?
Easter Island, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what was going on there.
Man, maybe, dude. I have no idea.
Might have been. And by the way, they just like, for some reason, they just got the idea to dig up and see if there was bodies buried underneath
just barely?
the heads. Yeah. Like literally within the past couple years,
they
were
like,
there might be
there's
bodies
more
under
to
here.
those.
And turns out there was.
Oh, we got a neck.
Yeah. Is that a nipple? Holy shit! So yeah, they would sleep in the sacred groves or stone circles to receive visions. These practices weren't just fortune telling; they were spiritual diagnostics, connecting the visible and invisible realms. Prophecy wasn't only used for personal guidance, it was a tool for governance and tribal decisions. A druid's vision could determine the timing of a battle, the crowning of a king, or whether a harvest would thrive. These insights came from a finely tuned psychic state, achieved through fasting, chanting, and trance. In a sense, the druids were the early psychonauts.
An altered state of mind, man. There it is. I love it.
Maybe that's where Nick comes from.
Yeah. The druid.
He was a fucking druid back in the day. In a sense, the druids were the early psychonauts, navigating altered states to bring back wisdom from other dimensions. Oh my God.
It's kind of my thing, dude.
How have we never looked into this? I
don't
love
know.
this.
Well, we've been saying that we were going to, and I feel like we were just kind of putting it off because it did need its own episode, but I'm glad we made it here, man. Finally.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like we're actually kind of getting back to our roots with an episode like this too.
Oh yeah. It feels right. It's going down smooth.
It is. Yeah. So now we have nextly the spoken word as spellcraft as one of the magical things they were doing.
All right.
The spoken word was sacred. To the Druids, words were not mere sounds, but vessels of power. Poems, songs, chants, and prayers were crafted with such precision that they were believed to shape reality itself. This is why the bards trained for years, not just to memorize stories, but to embody the resonance of truth. Words were spells, and stories were maps of the soul. The Irish word Awen, A-W-E-N. It looks like amen, but with a W.
Yep.
The Irish word Awen, I'm just going to say Awen, meaning flowing inspiration, captured this essence. To speak with Awen was to channel divine truth through one's voice. These orations could bless, curse, heal, or awaken. It's no coincidence that many ancient Celtic tales speak of warriors frozen in awe at the words of a druid. In today's world, we might call this vibrational magic or frequency manipulation, but to the druids, it was simply the sacred art of speech.
I love it, dude.
That's awesome.
We know that words have power, man. I mean, you're literally sending sound waves through the air, into the physical. Like that I don't know, man. There's something to that. And whenever we've done those chants, and we really get into it, man, there's something that happens, like vibrationally.
Oh my God, this just made me remember. Last night, this morning, I woke up with a dream that I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I just figured it out. And it was like the most amazing epiphany that I've ever had. Like, holy shit, I cracked the code.
I'm glad you remembered.
This dream is going to like set the ball moving forward every day on from this moment in time, right? And I was like, but I don't really feel like writing it down. But there's no way I'm going to forget it. There's no way. Like, that's what I was thinking, right? Because it's so profound. I mean, I would have to literally wake up dead to not remember it.
Yep.
Right? Of course, I went back to sleep and I woke up and I was like, fuck, what was
it gone?
it? No, where did it go?
Oh my God, dude.
Like,
you got to get the dream journal, man. Got to get it. You're slacking.
But I believe that it was referencing to the spellcraft in a sense. Words are spells in a way, and not even just in the traditional sense of like, we all know that like words, they have certain vibrations and certain frequencies. And then of course there's neuro-linguistic programming, which is good for suggesting, it's good for like, if you're ever going to be like a salesman or anything like that, you would want to learn neuro-linguistic programming because it's not pushy words, it's suggestive words. And you're saying the same thing, just in a different way, right?
Right. And you're more acceptant of that.
Right. And so I think this is just a portion of it, but I believe that like I woke up and I took that literal, right? That like literally every word that comes out of my mouth will shape my reality. And it just seemed so obvious whenever I thought it. Like literally whatever you say. I mean, how many people talk shit on themselves every day?
Right. Well, like, in their mind, and I feel like that kind of, you can do that for so long, and I feel like even that would still eventually create your reality, but speaking it out, that's just like making it just so much more tangible. I mean, it's now reality. It's now physical in a sense.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, God, according to the Bible, spoke this existence into being.
Yeah.
spoke it. So yeah, I do believe that words are absolutely manipulating our physical surroundings all the time. You know?
Well, I mean, think about it this way, real quick. I just saw something very recently about the placebo and how they were obviously, with placebo, you give someone a sugar pill, or you give a group of people a sugar pill, you give another group the actual medicine. But what was interesting about this is that what they found was, whenever they got to like 75% of the people that actually took the drug, when they got 75% of those people saying that they felt the effects and they felt better, that was when they were able to send it to the next stage of really trying to release this medication. But what was interesting was that the other group that took the sugar pill would sometimes, it would go from 40 to 50 to all the way up to 75%, and they just took the sugar pill. And so a doctor in a white coat speaking words telling you, I'm giving you this medicine that's going to treat this, that, and the other thing. And now you just take that and make it your reality, and your body starts to heal itself. Like
100%.
That's magic.
It absolutely is. It's incantations, essentially.
Exactly. Yep.
Man. See what I'm saying? This world is extremely malleable, and it's based upon your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and your words. Yep. Like, I know that sounds kind of crazy to a lot of people, but just try it one day. And once you try it, you're going to be like, that was weird. How did that work?
And also keep in mind, when there's an illness that's bothering you, something that maybe you did it to yourself with your own thoughts, and you're stressed out, and there's all kinds of chemicals dumping, and it's really making you sick. It might have taken you years to get to that point. And so just keep in mind, it's going to probably take a long time to flip it back and go the other way. It's not going to be instant.
Yeah. You got to, it has to be developed into a habit.
Yep.
For sure. And you have to remind yourself every day until it's just automatically a habit every day,
Right. Exactly.
All right. We got one last magical thing that they were doing back in the day.
Okay.
This is not all inclusive. I'm sure they were doing a bunch more. This is just a couple of them. So they had weather and battle magic. This is on some Thor level shit right now. So the Romans claimed that Druids could summon storms, cloak battlefields in fog, or call down lightning upon enemies.
Whoa.
That's the enemy telling you what they were experiencing on the battlefild when they went up against these Druids. That's how you know it has to be real. Whenever the enemy's like, yo, they were actually on some real shit.
So we took them out,
Oh my God. Summon storms, cloak battlefields in fog, or call down lightning upon the enemies. That's incredible. That is thug level wizardry right there.
Yeah, dude. Savage.
I love it. So while some of this might seem mythologized, there are consistent reports of Druids influencing natural forces during times of war. Certain rituals were performed at crossroads or at hilltops, locations where the energetic ley lines intersected to draw on the power of the land itself. Of course, it makes sense. Yep. Some scholars believe that Druid chants and drumming created sonic resonance fields that affected both weather and human consciousness. Others say that they worked with the elementals or nature spirits to shift the energetic balance of a space. Battle magic may have also included psychic shielding, blessing warriors with courage, or placing hexes on opposing armies. It's clear that their understanding of subtle energies extended into the political and martial realms as well. Oh, man, that's awesome.
What's interesting about that, too, is, you tell your allies, look, we put a hex on the enemy, so don't even trip. You know what I mean? They're going to be weakened. They're not going to be, moving as quickly. And so in their mind, they're like, oh, we got this, And so in a sense, it's like creating a different reality just in their own mind.
Oh, yeah.
Feeling much more confident going into war.
Oh, dude, it's Michael Jordan giving the Looney Tunes water at halftime.
That's it. Yep.
And it's like, here's this nothing, and but this nothing is going to act like magic in your mind. It will be that sugar pill.
Yep.
That's the real
That's what we're
magic.
dealing with.
See, and this is why we talk about all these things, to be able to compare and contrast, to see how it all works and stuff like that. But what we have come to an absolute knowing core is that all of this stuff, all it needs is your permission and your belief. That's it. Like, all of this shit is absolutely real. Every single emotion and belief and energy and vibration and frequency, you know, whenever somebody just takes a bit of information, we're not talking about like a materialistic item by any means, but just take something, and all you have to do is believe, and then you just have these powers. You just have them now because you believe it. Here's a story. I probably said this before. I was telling this to somebody yesterday, as a matter of fact, that it used to be that I used to, back whenever I was living in Louisiana, my daughter, she used to always go, man, you know, I'm just not smart enough. I can't get good grades on tests or anything like that. Like, I'm not smart like the other kids. I would say, baby, you're as smart and probably even smarter than most of those kids. Like, don't talk to yourself like that. And I said, you know what? I'll help you though. I said, you know, I have a bunch of these crystals, and during a full moon, it said that, you know, if you put a crystal inside a glass of water or a bowl of water or something like that, you can make crystal moon water. That moonlight shines down and connects to the crystal and charges the water. And what it said, and this is what I told her, what it said is that whenever you wake up and that sun has gone back down, and, you know, the sun is coming up and you're getting ready to go to school, and you drink that water, I guarantee you're going to ace that test. Because she was so worried about the test the next day.
Yep.
A+ on the test the next day.
Right. So what is that? You know?
Belief.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
And
that's
all
all
it
it is.
That's not to like dissuade people, you know, like what we're saying is that belief itself is a power.
Yep.
You know,
and whatever it is that you're putting your absolute belief in, you know, it's going to work. It's just going to work because you allowed it to. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I feel like, you know, that I've tried, or I've, you know, I understand to be true, but for some reason, maybe I just gave up on myself too easily and didn't fully believe in it. And then maybe that's why it didn't really work. But I really believe that if you just put all of your belief and energy and attention into that thing, it's going to respond.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, you, Sean, you're like real into cars, and I'm pretty into them too. And so we'll give like a little car allegory right here, right? So essentially, the car can't drive without a battery, but it also needs an alternator to keep that battery going, or else it's just going to drain it, right? Like if you got a fucked up alternator, like your car will start to turn over, but it ain't going to stay running, right?
Right.
This is what I believe. I believe that the vessel, let's just say the car, and let's just say the car represents whatever it is that you believe, right? Let's just say the car is Jesus, for example, right?
Okay.
Jesus, it's a full-on unit. Right? It does exist. It is real. And, you know, all it requires is your belief. Your belief is essentially the battery. You just need to get it started, right?
Yep.
And then the egregore itself, or the belief itself, is the alternator that keeps it going. All it requires is just your minimal belief in it. You know what I'm saying? And
that's exactly right.
That's not even just I'm talking about all egregores, all mythologies. And it doesn't even have to just be that. You could just believe that you're going to achieve something. And it's like, you know, there's magic and all that. So
absolutely, dude. And all your efforts going into it. If you believe it, then your efforts are going to be just that much more without even trying, because you're not holding yourself back as much.
Big facts. Yeah, dude. Just reading this kind of shit just inspires me a little bit.
It does, yeah, dude. I'm gonna do some push-ups tonight, I think. Yeah, because I believe I can get at least 4. You know,
I believe it too.
Thanks, man.
All right. Nextly, we're moving past the magic now. It's still gonna be a little bit magic. Obviously, we're talking about the Druids, but now we're going to get into the Druidic initiation and the sacred knowledge. Okay. Because you're not going to be able to do all of this magical stuff if you're not initiated and you don't know. Remember, they said earlier, those people, to be initiated, to be a druid, it was like a 20-year process sometimes.
Right.
It's like, you know, whenever you like Freemasonry, even for example, like you're not going to get in, sign up and become a 33rd degree Mason overnight. You know, like that takes a long time to be able to get up to that level. So it's just initiatory rites. So now we're going to get to the path of the Druid initiate. So becoming a Druid was no casual undertaking. Initiation required an unwavering commitment to years, sometimes decades, of study, memorization, and spiritual discipline. The initiate would begin as a bard, mastering in poetry, song, myth, and the symbolic language of the cosmos. Then came the path of the Ovate, diving into prophecy, healing, herbology, and the hidden arts. Only after deep inner transformation and demonstrated wisdom could one be initiated as a full druid. So druid was like the top of the hierarchy. Like once you reached druid, you were that
black
dude.
belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These teachings were not written, they were internalized. The initiate had to memorize thousands of verses, cosmological models, and natural laws. Training often involved isolation in forests or caves, fasting, sensory deprivation, or ecstatic rituals that opened portals to deeper realities. The goal was not just to learn, but to become a vessel of the divine. A druid wasn't someone who knew sacred truths, they were someone who embodied them.
There's that word again, dude. Embodiment.
Yes.
Dude. See, I think I would really struggle on the memory aspect of that. You know what I mean? Like my memory is just, I don't know. Probably smoked too much weed when I was young. I don't know, but dude, if that's one of the three things that we need to really be really good at is memory, fuck, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's why, it's the embodying nature. It's like, and that's why you turn something into a habit because, once you do something every day, like if I told you, hey, Sean, I'm going to need you to study for a test. You have to take it 20 years from now. You know what I mean? You're going to ace that fucking test because you're going to become so repetitive in, in all of the base. You're going to basically become ritualistic in what you're learning. And so you don't even remember it. It's embodied. Like it's embedded,
just part of you.
It's embedded into your brain at that point.
Assuming I don't procrastinate for 19 years and 6 months.
Yeah. Don't do that. So there were also sacred groves as mystery temples. So the Druids didn't build stone temples. Their sanctuaries were sacred groves, clusters of oaks, yews, and hazels that were alive with the spirit and natural energy. These groves were considered axis mundi, which were points where heaven, earth, and the other world converged. Rituals performed in these places carried enhanced potency because the natural environment amplified the spell work and spiritual presence. Makes sense.
Interesting.
I mean, why is it that like you always see the old wizard out in a cabin in the middle of woods by nobody else, right? The hermit, all of them, the witch.
In his temple, dude.
The old hag, always out in the middle of the woods somewhere,
Connected to the divine of nature.
Absolutely. And it you needed that seclusion, that point where you could become the hermit for a little while and really like start to embed yourself into the roots of nature itself.
Really hone in that practice, dude.
In these groves, initiations were conducted, seasonal rites performed, and divine wisdom received. The rustle of the leaves, the call of the birds, the shifting light through branches, these weren't distractions, but sacred signs. Let's go. Now we're communicating. Have you seen those people that are talking to trees saying, hey, oh my God, dude, you got to watch those videos. It is so mind blowing because you'll see the first video and you're like, somebody's moving the branch. Right. And then you'll see the second video and it's like,
oh, I know what you're talking about now. And they respond. Like the leaf,
tree,
the branch will start moving, like it's waving or something.
Yeah.
I have seen those. I don't know what to make of that. Not to say that I don't think that that's possible. I feel like plants and all things are somehow connected to consciousness itself. I feel like everything is, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
Well, because it's not necessarily responding to your English words. It's responding to the vibration you're putting off. You know what I mean? And the same way like your dogs respond. It's like, if you go high pitch, your dog's going to go, I'm ready.
Right.
But then if you yell and you're stern, your dog's like, not me. I didn't do it. It's like they're just responding to the energy that you're kind of bringing. And
that's a trip.
I think that like the trees, and I actually saw a video where a woman, I was actually really happy that she included the full video because she could have just been one of those people that just like cut it halfway and only showed the good, but she included the bad as well. And
Right.
so she said that she had been seeing all these people communicating with trees and going up to branches and saying, "Hey, please touch me. You know, can you just show me that you're there?" And so I guess she had like a really like anxiety driven day, right? And she was just in this funk of a mood. And she was like, you know what? If I could just communicate with the tree, it'd make my day a whole lot better. But she brought that negative energy, right? And so whenever she went out and she was like, "Hey tree, can you touch me?" Like the tree's like, I can't
Not
hear
with that attitude.
I can't
you know?
I can't hear you. Okay.
Right.
But you know, and she tried and tried and tried for like 5-10 minutes and wasn't getting any kind of response. And she started to get a little discouraged, but then she was like, you know what? Like it just popped into her mind, like a little epiphany. She goes, you know what? Maybe it's my mood. Like maybe I, you know, need to get like harmonized with nature and with this tree and really try and connect to it in a certain kind of way. So she sat there, she took a big deep breath, she soaked up the sun, and she looked at the tree for the beautiful thing that it was, kind of thing, right? And then she got up next to the tree. "You beautiful tree, can you please touch my shoulder? I would really appreciate that." Dude, instantly it happened. And then not only did that happen, the leaf or the branch was like staying on her shoulder. Now, whenever she first started, it was a couple of feet away. But then as she was asking it to come, it started to move itself over to her. You know, I mean, branches and stuff are pretty, you know, they can
Pliable.
move. And so whenever it was touching her shoulder, she was like, all right, so just to prove to myself that I'm not just tripping, she goes, "Can you move your arm away from me?" And it did. And then she asked for it to come back, and it did. And then she asked for it to go away, and it did. And it was like every single time that she asked, she got. And dude, that's like, I think that right there proves that there is some kind of, you know, like everything is consciousness. Like, and that's what we always say, that it's the Maya, it's the grand illusion that everything's separate. It's all one thing. And if it's all one thing, you should be able to communicate with anything at that point. You just got to find a way to communicate with it. How can you know, connect yourself and connect your consciousness or connect your spirit or whatever to that thing to communicate it with?
Yeah, and that's why I feel like, you know, if consciousness is all just one thing and we're all part of that, I feel like, you know, we've gone into, and I might have mentioned this before, you know, we've gone into quantum entanglement, but I feel like we're all quantumly entangled regardless, like if we like it or not, you know, and I feel like that's why, I mean, I guess maybe especially for an empath or, you know, someone like that, you walk into a room and you can kind of just feel like kind of the general energy of the room as like an average, you know, of what's going on. And it's because we're all connected, man. It's like you entered the liquid that is consciousness within that space and you're just part of it now, you know? And so I fully believe that, man.
Oh, it's a full on real thing. There's like, I don't even doubt it anymore because even myself, like let's say if I walk into a room, you know, if, I don't know, maybe the kids are arguing or, you know, somebody's yelling about something, maybe the dogs are going crazy or whatever. If I like make the intention to go in there and calm it down without using my words, like, dude, I've tried that before and it's like spooky how crazy it works.
You're just manipulating the energy in the room. I love it.
Essentially. All right. So yeah, they didn't build stone temples. They used the sacred groves. They were, they had the Axis Mundi, which were the points where heaven, earth, and the other world converged. Rituals performed in these places carried enhanced potency because the natural environment amplified the spell work and spiritual presence. In these groves, initiations were conducted, seasonal rites performed, and divine wisdom received. Oh, I kind of already read this, didn't I? I'll read it over again. The rustle of the leaves, the call of the birds, the shifting of the light through the branches, these weren't distractions, but sacred signs. Each tree had symbolic meaning. The oak stood for strength and endurance. The yew represented death and rebirth. How about that? The yew represented death and rebirth. Yew is the etymological beginning of the Jew. Okay?
Okay.
That's where the Jews where they started naming themselves. They named themselves after this tree.
Oh.
Because back in the day, the J didn't exist. And so it was always, if you were trying to say a J word, or before you started saying J, it was always a Y. right?
Right.
And so it was a Y, and that's why it's like you go from Yeshua to Jesus. It's like the Y
right.
to J kind of situation there. And
That's
so
interesting.
it's funny that, you know, Judaism, and it comes from this tree that represents death and rebirth. Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting, dude. Or Judaism, right?
Judaism. Yeah. The hazel held the secrets of divine inspiration. To enter the grove was to step into a living library of spiritual power. I can see that. So now we get to initiation rites. Initiation wasn't just ceremonial, it was transformational. Many Druidic rites involved symbolic death and rebirth, where the initiate was ritually buried, blindfolded, or cast into darkness to simulate the womb of the earth. Oh my God. Yeah. Like
a sensory deprivation tank.
Oh, dude, it's the death and the rebirth ritual. It is essentially baptism, if you really think about it. That's really what it is. Like, it's just so mind-boggling that these people were doing this for decades, centuries, millennia. They were doing it all along. And now we just have different terms for it. But this is old. This shit goes back, you know?
Right.
And so...
Way before.
I mean, literally, it just says right there that initiation, it wasn't just ceremonial, it was transformational. So, I mean, there's the whole death and rebirth kind of situation, which essentially, you know, you can call that ego death. You can call that like maybe becoming more in touch with your higher self or more in touch with God, because now you're not so much associated with just your lower ego mind.
Yeah, and like you mentioned the baptism thing, you know, I've heard people saying that once they did that, there was like this feeling that they got, almost a supernatural connection to God from that moment on. And there was never a moment that they don't feel that. You know, like maybe if they're doing things that they know they shouldn't do, it dims, but it's still there. You know, this just unexplainable, well, I mean, they have an explanation for it, but this supernatural feeling all of a sudden.
Oh, dude, it's a ceremonial it's a ceremonial cleansing of the sins, bro. Like that's what the whole ceremony is all about. It, you know, at least within, you know, the Abrahamic religions and stuff like that.
And so that's the initiation. So that once they come out of the dirt, they're now a druid.
Yes. If you ever watch Game of Thrones, there were the people that I can never remember what they're called, but there were the people that were they were like the seafarers essentially, and they used to have to go through this initiation process of they would literally drown themselves, and like they would die for like just a couple of seconds, maybe a minute, and then somebody would give them like CPR and, you know, bring them back to life.
Holy shit.
And what they're saying was, what's dead may never die. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's cool. And also they got to see the other side for a moment. You know what I mean? And probably brought something back.
100%.
A near-death experience. I mean, dude. That's a trip.
It's like the ancient way of having a DMT trip.
Not
really
just
think
an
about it.
ego death, a you death.
Oh yeah, you died, motherfucker.
You did,
and so did everybody. You know,
right.
God, I just love this kind of stuff. But all right, so so yeah, it wasn't just it wasn't just ceremonial; it was transformational. So that, they would be ritually buried, blindfolded, or cast into darkness to simulate the womb of the earth. These experiences were designed to strip away the ego and open the soul to direct communion with the spirit. Upon emergence, the initiate was seen as twice born, now a being of two worlds. Oh, that's cool, dude. That is
this
cool.
world and the other world.
Yeah, I'm a native to the other side now. You know, it says these rites often coincided with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, or eclipses, when cosmic energies were the most potent. Some initiations included visions from sacred mushrooms. I knew there was mushrooms involved. Visions from sacred mushrooms and or herbal concoctions, guided by a senior druid, call him a shaman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Others required the initiate to face fears, fast for days, or undertake a quote-unquote wild hunt through the forest. The goal was the same, to break through the ordinary perception and awaken the soul's higher faculties.
The ordinary perception.
That's exactly
what we were just
what
talking
we're
about earlier.
About. Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, we might be onto something here.
Synchronistic. All right. Nextly, we have rituals, Sabbats, and the Wheel of the Year.
Okay.
All right. So you have the Celtic Wheel of the Year. We're going to start with first. The Druids lived in sacred rhythm with the Earth's natural cycles, honoring 8 major festivals throughout the year, 4 solar and 4 fire festivals. This wheel marked the turning of the seasons, the waxing and waning of life energy, and the gateways between worlds. Each Sabbath or Sabbath, if you like Ozzy Osbourne, each Sabbath wasn't just a calendar event. It was a portal of energy with unique spiritual properties. The year began with Samhain, which is October 31st, when the veil between the worlds was at its thinnest. The dead were honored, and the dark half of the year began. Next came Imbolc, Imbolc. We've talked about this one, which happened February 1st, honoring Brigid. Oh, we've talked about Brigid before. I remember that name.
Yeah, I think so.
So Imbolc was honoring Brigid, which was the goddess of healing and inspiration, marking purification and new beginnings. So essentially, February 1st was like their new year at that point, I think.
Yep.
Then you have Beltane, which is May 1st. So yeah, I guess they are exactly 6 months apart. Oh, is it 6? Maybe 7 now. So October 31st. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Well, it goes from about 6-7 months, something like that. So yeah, Beltane celebrated fertility, fire, and divine union when the earth and sky embraced. Then you have, this is going to be a tough word, Lufnazad. I don't know. That's a weird one.
You probably nailed it. Yeah,
I might have. I don't know. I tried. Which is August 1st, which honored the first harvest and the sun god Lugh, Lugh. Would you say Lugh for that? Lug?
Yeah, but that's probably wrong. Because if that's how I would have said it, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was honoring the sun god's offering of sacrifice for abundance. The solar cross quarter days, which were the winter and summer solstices, and the spring and autumn equinoxes. That's what I was looking for, not the fall equinox, autumn equinox.
Same thing, no?
Basically the same thing. Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Which balanced this cycle with light and shadow. Through this wheel, the Druids aligned with time, not as linear, but cyclical, mystical, and alive. The time itself was alive.
I mean, that's what I saw in my 4ACO trip. It was very, very cyclical. There was this cycle nature to it, dude. It was a trip.
Yeah, there's definitely some truth to that for sure. And that's what I'm saying. Like, all of this seems crazy until you like almost try and you almost got to like play make believe with it at first. Like, what if it is real? That would be cool if it is. And then wait a second, why is it seeming like it is? And then holy shit, it is real.
Yeah.
Like
and then
that's
there's
kind
no
of
turning
like the
back.
cycle.
Yeah. You have to experience it.
Right. So then you have ritual structure. So Druidic rituals followed a fluid but powerful format. First, sacred space was established, often within a natural circle of stones or trees. Then the quarters were invoked, north for earth, east for air, south for fire, and west for water. Again, very Magician, right?
Yep.
The energy of each direction was called in with chanting, hand gestures, and offerings such as grain, honey, or spring water. This process, quote unquote, opened the gates, allowing energy to flow between realms. Once the space was alive with presence, the ritual's intention was declared, whether it was for healing, divination, initiation, or seasonal honoring. Offerings were made to spirits of place, ancestors, and deities. Songs and poetry were recited to invoke Awen, the divine current of inspiration, which we talked about earlier. At the ritual's climax, energy would be raised through drumming, ecstatic movement, or focused silence. Finally, the circle was closed with gratitude, and participants returned to the world altered, more in tune with divine rhythm of the universe. I can imagine that.
dude. I mean, anytime you can make something more tangible, like speaking something out, or using a tool, or because you can think to yourself, I'm going to learn to play the piano. I'm going to learn, and you can keep telling yourself that. But until you actually go and get a little piano, you're never going to really start seeing results and really start having that experience of being that person that is learning how to play the piano.
Yeah, it takes time.
And so
it takes
yeah,
commitment to it.
Yep.
So now we're going to get to, here we go. Some of the sacred tools. All right. So unlike the later ceremonial magicians, Druids didn't rely heavily on ornate tools, but when they did use them, each item was deeply symbolic. The staff, often carved from oak or ash, represented authority, wisdom, and connection to the world tree. It acted as a conduit between realms, a symbolic lightning rod of divine energy.
Right. Well, I'm gonna have to get myself an oak staff. I've been saying it, dude. I want a staff.
You have been saying
I just think it would be awesome. Now I know it needs to be made of oak.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Some people actually, well, no, that's the wand. So you have the holly wand from the holly tree, and that's different.
Staff.
So yeah, you need an oak staff for sure. Nextly, we have the cauldron, which was sacred to the goddess Saradwen, which symbolized transformation, wisdom, and rebirth. In myth, those who drank from the cauldron received prophecy or poetic inspiration. All right, like a potion.
What was really in that cauldron?
Yeah. Some magic shroomies. Nextly, you have the Ogham sticks. I don't know if it's Ogham or Ogham. Anyway, the Ogham sticks were used as a form of tree-based divination. Each glyph represented not only a letter, but also a tree and its spiritual essence. For example, birch meant new beginnings. Rowan, which is a type of tree, stood for protection. Holly for the spiritual warrior energy. We were just talking about that. That's interesting. Stones were also used, especially quartz or ironstone, imbued with elemental charge. Dude, everybody's using quartz, dude. Like that's
it's a go-to, man.
That's OG crystal right there.
Yeah, it's a go-to. It's kind of an all-around crystal.
Yeah, and it can
like the white candle. It's kind of universal.
It can take
or black
place
candle for that matter. Yeah.
Right. So then you had, it said ritual garb was simple: cloaks, tunics, or robes in white or green, which echoed the colors of life and spirit. Oh, interesting. But ultimately, the most powerful tool was the self, purified, aligned, and in communion with the earth and the stars.
There it is, dude. The most powerful tool is the self.
100%. 100%.
I'm really messing with this episode, man.
Me too.
I'm enjoying it. I got to wear that cloak that you got me. I don't know why I haven't yet.
Oh, it's hot. It's hot. You're not trying to wear a damn cloak.
Wait till winter time,
Oh, it's going to get busted out.
Maybe Halloween time. It's still going to be warm, but maybe I'll break it out during that time.
Yeah.
Feels right.
Yeah, you have to. Light some candles.
Oh, yeah. Just get real weird with it.
Get fucking weird. Nextly, we're going to get into the esoteric and conspiratorial layers. Okay.
All right.
Were the Druids Atlantean descendants? I've heard this before.
Okay.
Some esoteric traditions propose that the Druids were the cultural heirs of a forgotten antediluvian civilization, possibly Atlantis. According to this view, when Atlantis fell beneath the waves, its priest kings fled to the highlands of Ireland, Britain, and Egypt. There, they seeded the roots of spiritual science, encoded through sacred geometry, astronomy, and ritual magic. The Druids then were not simply tribal sages; they were the keepers of a much older flame. The idea isn't just fantasy. The megalith sites that the Druids revered, like Newgrange, Stonehenge, and Avebury, were aligned to solar and lunar cycles with astonishing precision. But they predate the historical Druids by thousands of years. So who built them? And how did the Druids know how to use them? Some believe that they were trained in the ancient science by those who remembered the wisdom of the stars and the language of the earth grid with the ley lines, resonance, and cosmic gateways.
Wow. I wonder if there is something to do with where it's placed, like the Stonehenge. Like there must be something to, like, what were they trying to do? Like, it looks like they were trying, like, when I look at that, it looks like I don't know, something for like either a spacecraft, or they were trying to make some sort of like Stargate portal or something. You know what I mean? But the thing that I don't get, dude, is how do they even know how long ago the Stonehenge was even put there? You know, like can they even do carbon dating on stone? I thought it had to be like wood or organic, like bone or something. I don't know. I could be wrong. What do I know?
I mean, I don't know. I think that, first of all, carbon dating in and of itself is really only good, for not that long ago. Once you start getting into thousands of years, it starts to get a little shaky.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So the ley lines, yeah, absolutely. Of course, I have to turn off an ad blocker for this. But anyway, it says the Stonehenge, the pyramids of Giza, and Machu Picchu are just some of the ancient monuments that are said to be connected by mysterious invisible pathways called ley lines.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
I wonder what parallel or whatever. We had that one gentleman on talking about the 33rd parallel and all this, and so I wonder if there's anything correlating with that.
Shout out to Brad.
Yeah, dude.
I saw him at Bohemian Grove, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was there. Really cool guy. So, all right. So, yeah, that is strange that they were using Stonehenge. And if Stonehenge predates the Druids by thousands of years, then how did they even know to use Stonehenge for that reason?
Right. And when you were talking earlier about putting stones in a circle, I'm thinking like little, I don't know, river rock size rocks in a circle, but they were going big with the Stonehenge, dude. And like they weren't holding back, man.
No, they weren't. All right, now we're going to get to the fun stuff. This whole thing's been fun.
Yeah.
But we're going to get to the suppression by Rome and the church on the Druids.
There we go.
The Roman Empire, especially under Julius Caesar, considered the Druids a direct threat to imperial control. Why? Because they held no central temple, no written doctrine, and no king to assassinate. Only a decentralized web of oral wisdom and spiritual authority rooted in the land.
Just something that was going to get out of control real quick. They're like, no.
Yeah, there's no queen of this hive, kind of situation.
Right.
Caesar accused them of human sacrifice, which may have been a smear campaign, and actively sought to dismantle their priesthood through war and colonization. Later, the Christian church continued the suppression by demonizing Druidic practices as pagan idolatry, of course. Sacred groves were cut down. Wow, they went hard. They cut down their groves.
The grove, dude.
Of all things. Like
their treehouse, their space.
Oh my God. Ancient stones were repurposed or destroyed, and festivals like Samhain were rebranded into All Saints' Day. Of course. Yet the old ways survived in secret, in folk magic, herbalism, storytelling, and even with monastic Christian mysticism. The war wasn't just political, it was metaphysical, a battle between the living earth wisdom and the rising imperial control. That's such a shame.
Yep.
It said that the Druids were like literally ran through so many times through so many different generations that that's how like a lot of the ancient Druid mysteries and initiation rituals and a lot of that knowledge was lost because they were just constantly coming all the time until they wiped out literally all of them, and that's why you have St. Paddy's Day,
and that's why we go drink beer for some reason.
Pour one out for the Druids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. One for my homies.
Right. So now we have modern Druid revival. Seems to be making a comeback now, as it should.
Yep.
Despite the suppression, the Druidic flame was never fully extinguished. In the 18th and 19th centuries, romantic poets and spiritual seekers began rediscovering the old paths. Today, groups like the Order of the Bards, Ovates, and Druids, or OBOD, are reviving these traditions, blending historical research with inner gnosis. While not all modern Druidry can be proven, in quotes, authentic, many practitioners experience profound transformation through aligning with nature, rhythm, and ancestral wisdom. Some say that the Druidic impulse is less about reconstructing the past and more about restoring right relationship with the earth. The Neo-Druids practice tree communion, seasonal rites, bardic poetry, and environmental activism. They see Gaia as a living being and themselves as stewards of a deeper spiritual ecology. Perhaps the spirit of Druidry was never meant to be a rigid dogma, but an evolving way of living in harmony with the land and the mysteries that breathe through it.
I mean, that sounds pretty awesome to me.
Solid.
I think, you know, I mean, you paint a pretty picture about the Druids, dude, but you know, it's probably the devil trying to
I don't even doubt
write some fake shit. You know,
actually, reading this itself is going to cause demons to.
You've already opened the portal, dude.
Yeah, they're just going to come sit on your chest, and you're going to have sleep paralysis tonight. You know.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of that, and this might be off topic, I had slightly an out of body experience. Like, it was to the point where I woke up, but I didn't open my eyes. I was just all of a sudden consciously aware that I was laying there with my eyes closed. And I was like, all right, well, this is the moment, because I felt like this ringing and like a hum, like simultaneously. And I shit you not, dude, I felt like I was vibrating a little, like ever so slightly. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is where I want to be, you know, if I want to get out of body. And so I was sitting there and I was like, all right, here we go. And let's go. We're going out of body. We're going out of body. And this was like in the middle of the night, dude, you know? So like for some reason, as soon as I go into that state of mind, of course I'm thinking, okay, it's time, you know, but I felt like I slightly got up, like I tried to make the motion of getting up, and I felt like I like halfway got up, but I still couldn't see anything. And so for whatever reason, I was like, all right, well, I guess this isn't going to work. And so I then went back, and for whatever reason, it felt like I wasn't fitting into my body. Like it felt like I was back, but it was like off a little bit. I don't know. It was super strange, dude. And then I don't remember nothing after that. So I know it wasn't a dream because I was very consciously aware of it, of actually intentionally trying to do that in the middle of the night.
Well, and that's the time to do it too. Like, especially, we always talk about like
deep, dude.
As soon as you wake up, you're in theta. Like, and that's where, you know, the sleep paralysis, it really is. Like, you're in theta in sleep paralysis. You're in theta whenever you're in deep meditation. You're in theta whenever you're deeply hypnotized. Like, all of these things. And honestly, I would venture to say that whenever you're on psychedelics, you're in theta.
Yeah. And that's when things really, like, a lot of things seem so possible. You know, like in your mind, when we went outside, I know this sounds fucking weird. I'm almost embarrassed to even say it out loud, but we went outside and the clouds were like very almost geometric, but like layered in a way where it looked like we were seeing the same pattern of the same clouds, right? It was really weird. And first, I had this notion that we could, if we wanted to, if we both put our intention into it, we could like move the clouds. You know what I mean? Like we can play with it, you know? And
you should have told me.
Maybe it was a really just a weird thought, but like, why would I naturally think like that's possible? For sure we could do that, you know? I don't know.
You should have told me.
Maybe I was just tripping.
We were tripping.
Possible.
But, I mean, and that's the thing is that, you know, that's why we covered all the DMTX things. It's because whenever you're tripping, it's kind of like you're awakened. And whenever you're not tripping, it's like technically you are.
Right. Yeah. And it definitely felt like when I had the thought to try to get out of body, it really felt like I was in that in between, you know, the in between being completely asleep and being awake, you know. And I don't know, it was very, very strange. It was the first time I've ever felt like this, almost this buzzing vibe, like sensation in my body. And I've heard people say that, but I've never experienced that, but I did. And I was like, oh, this might be the time to do it, you know? So
yeah, that would have been the time for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, next time you get like a weird thought like that, just say it. I'm probably thinking the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh yeah. I want to say I did say it, but we were just like kind of like we were together, but we were also just kind of in awe separately for that moment when it happened.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, let's move forward here. So becoming a druid in the modern world. So how would you become a modern day druid? To walk the druidic path today doesn't require a grove or a robe. It requires reverence, attention, and alignment. Begin by tuning into the cycles of the sun and the moon. Observe the turning of the seasons. Light a candle at dawn and honor the coming light. Speak to the trees. Listen for the whisper of Awen in the wind. These small practices open the gates to deeper knowing. The Druid is not just a title, it's a frequency. It's the sacred observer, the speaker of truth, the steward of a spirit. In a world of noise and synthetic living, the modern Druid becomes the still point in the storm, listening to the earth's forgotten language and remembering that we are not separate from nature. We are her voice. To walk the Druid path is to reclaim your mythic self and reweave your soul into the living web of existence. That was beautiful.
I love it.
So modern Druid rituals and magic now. So this is where we're going to get ritualistic.
Okay.
Seasonal ceremonies and personal practices. So in the modern Druid revival, rituals are crafted to honor both ancient tradition and present-day resonance. Seasonal festivals like Imbolc, Beltane, and Samhain are celebrated in sacred outdoor spaces, aligning practitioners with the cycles of the earth. Circles are cast, the four elements are invoked, and deities or nature spirits are welcomed into the rite. Offerings of mead, bread, flowers, or poetry are made to the land, ancestors, and fae folk. Yet beyond public gatherings, many Druids maintain personal rituals at home, lighting candles for the moon phases, meditating at dawn, and walking barefoot upon the earth while reciting spontaneous prayers. Some work closely with a specific tree or a stone, building an ongoing relationship with the spirit of place. Others craft their own ritual calendar, weaving in astrology, Ogham correspondences, and dream work. The essence is authenticity, honoring the rhythm of the land through the rhythm of the soul. Wow. I like how they said, building a relationship with the spirit of place. Because, even not to keep on bringing up psychedelics or whatever, but whenever we did it in your living room, the psychedelic, it was like your living room was a place before, psychedelics. Right. And then it was a whole other place. It was like a bubble to all of reality while you're on the psychedelic. Like it was another place. It really felt like. So really I wonder if that's what they're referring to. Building an ongoing relationship with the spirit of place. I bet you it's on some shit like that.
Probably. There's definitely when you get to that space, man. I don't know. I felt like I just have this whole nother sense of appreciation for really everything around me. Yeah. Like everything that I have, which to be honest, like I don't care to have fancy shit or anything like that, but just the appreciation that I am able to have, things for my kids to watch or to do different things. And I don't know, man, it's just it's a good eye opener, to at least like just look up and smell the roses,
Yeah, it is.
To put it plainly.
It is sweet. It's a fun place to be. So where were we? Okay, now we're going to get to modern druidic magic. So modern or druidic magic today blends ancient methods with personal gnosis. Spellcraft might include crafting herbal charms, writing poetry to invoke deities or energies, or creating Ogham sigils for protection, healing, or insight. Yeah, so many druids use kitchen witchery, blessing meals, infusing teas with intention, or preparing ritual incense blends from traditional Celtic plants like mugwort, rowan, or hawthorn. Oh, shit. I want to start making my own incense. I think that'd be sweet.
Yeah, and the whole thing with making food with a proper intention, I actually... that came to my mind today because I got home and half of the dinner was cooked already, and I was kind of in a hurry and I hadn't even cooled down yet. I was still like sweating from being outside all day long. And I was like, I don't know, I felt like this sense of like frustration for whatever reason. I couldn't even figure out exactly why. But then I had that thought like, fuck, I'm putting whatever that is directly into this food.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. Being aware of these things is half the battle.
Yeah, and just bringing it back, catching yourself with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Britt said, this is referring to what we were talking about earlier, but Britt said that they've gotten really good at keeping people in little thought boxes. Even the minions in your vicinity help them with their agenda to shove you back in it if you say something out of line.
Yeah, man, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Brid also said, I always used to get that buzzing / vibration feeling before going into a sleep paralysis. It got to a point where I'd feel it. I would feel it start while I was laying there half asleep, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, here we go again."
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. See, I didn't experience the sleep paralysis, but I feel like it can go either way. You're in that realm where other things are possible. And so whether it's you somehow manage to get out of body or you take a little peek in it through the veil, I think that's where that happens. That's that magical state of mind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Okay, now Okay, so it continues. So divination remains central. Ogham staves are drawn like runes. Oh, okay, so we were kind of right with that. So they're drawn like runes, interpreted through intuition and lore. Some druids read signs in nature, whether it be clouds, birds, or weather patterns, as omens. Others practice journeying, entering trance through drumming or breath work to meet spirit guides or ancestors. In all cases, magic is seen not as domination of nature, but co-creation with it.
Co-creation, baby.
Yeah, that's the answer right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is rooted in reverence, grounded in ecology, and lit by the flame of inner sovereignty. So here's we're gonna get ritualistic right now. For anybody that wants to try this at home, we didn't necessarily prepare for this one because I didn't have some of these things, but I'm sure you probably didn't either. But it's pretty easy stuff to get your hands on. So here's going to be a beautiful and accessible modern druid ritual that everybody can try at home. It's designed to invoke Awen, the flowing spirit of divine inspiration, and connect with the living spirit of Earth. It can be performed solo, outside, or indoors, and works well during a solstice, equinox, full moon, or any moment when your soul is seeking connection.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right.
The modern druid ritual, awakening the Awen within. So the purpose of this ritual would be to invoke Awen, which is the divine inspiration, connect with earth energies, and open your inner channel to creativity and spiritual insight. The supplies that you would need, they're optional, but they are helpful if you have them, would be a candle, either white or green, a bowl of water, a small dish of salt or soil, a feather or incense, a stone or an acorn to represent earth, and journal or paper to write afterward. Okay. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I feel like we probably could have got that together.
Probably could have came up with most of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. We know for the next time.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going to open the circle. All right. Here we go. So you want to set sacred space. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Stand or sit comfortably. Breathe deeply and say this aloud. I open this space between worlds with the blessings of the land, the sea, and the sky. May the spirits of place, time, and self be present. Then you would call forth the elements. Turn slowly to each direction, honoring each element. So you would turn east for air. And to air, you would say, hold a feather or waft incense, or you would hold a feather or waft the incense, but you would say this: I call upon the winds of change, breath of thought, voice of Awen, be with me. Then you would light a candle, and you would turn south for the fire, and you would say this: I call upon the sacred flame, spark of will, light of the heart, burn within me. Then you'd turn west for water, and you'd dip your fingers in the bowl of water, and you would say, I call upon the waters of memory, emotion, and depth, flow through me. Oh, this is awesome. I love this one. Then you would turn north for the earth, and you would touch the stone or the soil that you have, and you would say, I call upon the bones of the earth, the roots of wisdom, ground me.
Dude,
that's awesome.
That just puts you right in, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
your mind is just like, oh, yeah, we're going.
This makes me want to watch Hocus Pocus again now.
The second one for
the second one's better. The second one's better. I'm sorry. That's
all right.
I mean,
agree to disagree.
I mean, I get it. I get how people would disagree, but I don't know. Maybe
no,
it's just
it was fine.
I think I've seen the first one too many times and it got wore out for me. That's probably what it is.
No, they're both good.
So now you would have the invocation for Awen. So after all of that, you would place your hands on your heart or raise them to the sky, and you would speak or chant slowly and with feeling. And you would say this, Awen, Awen, Awen. And you would repeat this 3 times or more, letting the word resonate through your body. And then you would say this, Awen, flow through me, voice of the trees, breath of the stars, fire of the soul. Let inspiration awaken within. Let the old stories rise from the roots. May I remember who I truly am.
Just one with the universe at that point, dude.
So after that, you would sit or stand in silence. You would listen, feel, and allow images, thoughts, or emotions to arise. Yeah, baby.
This is fun.
It is fun. I love it. So, and then whenever you're going to close the circle or close the ritual, you would, it says, whenever you feel ready, gently return to the space and speak this. Gratitude to the spirits, the elements, and the guardians. I close this circle, but the flame within remains. So then you would extinguish the candle, and if you're inspired, you would write in your journal, how did you feel, what did you see, what did you learn, and you may choose to leave your stone, feather, or soil an offering outside under a tree or in a special spot. That's awesome, dude.
Just showing that gratitude, man, and letting the universe know, like, I want more of that at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it's real, dude. It's alive.
I love it.
100%. So just getting over the chat, Asia said, the only place I can astral project like clockwork is at my grandma's house, and I have no idea why her house must be like a dimensional gateway or something. Grandparents' house usually have that effect. I imagine.
Think about it too. Whenever you get to your grandparents' house, usually like that was like the best feeling, you know, going to your grandparents' house, because you knew there was. I don't know. For me, I knew there was going to be like there was always like a candy bowl on the coffee table or some sodas in the fridge. Like it was just like my happy place as a chubby little kid.
Mine too. Yeah. You know, I wish that I could have bought their trailer because, and dude, and I know it's a trailer, but it was a double wide and it was huge on the inside. If you remember,
like that,
that was an awesome trailer. And just every time you went, like, it was just like bringing something back, you know? And unfortunately, they wouldn't let anybody buy it afterward because it was like too old and they wanted to bring new trailers in there. I was like, oh, damn, man. But they kept up with it. You know, it wasn't like breaking down or anything.
The area, though, is kind of gone to shit, you know?
Really?
Like, I remember when we would go there, everything seemed so clean and really nice. We'd go to the pool. It was always like superly maintained. And I feel like, I don't know, a few years ago, I drove by there and it's just a different vibe, dude. Whole different.
No.
Yeah.
Is that that's not Glendale? What part is that?
No. That's Mesa.
Mesa. Yeah.
Yep.
God, I missed that place.
We had some good times over there, dude.
Great times.
When we saw each other like once a year. You know what I mean?
Yep. Britt said, yes, probably so. I only had it happen at the house, talking about the astral projection. I only had it happen at the house that I lived at before now, and it happened so often that once it started and spoke to many quote unquote people during those episodes, once I lost fear on the whole situation. Yeah, you got to kick that fear because that's where the magic really starts. You know, because essentially, you know, we always talk about it that your vibration and your resonance and your frequency is essentially building everything around you. Like it's going to essentially paint everything around you. Just look at it like that. Whatever energy you bring is going to be the experience that you have in any place that you walk into. And so, yeah, if you go into it with fear, well, yeah, there's going to be a skinwalker at the foot of your bed, or there's going to be a demon trying to suck your blood or something like that, because that's fear embodied. That's fear made manifest.
That's the experience that you're going to have, you know,
100%.
And you can relate that to anything, really. I mean, you just imagine you're going to have a bad day because it's just one of those days, and now that's your experience, and it's really just as simple as that.
And you're the one that's creating that fear, and ultimately that manifestation of that fear embodied in and of itself. Like,
Yep.
and that's the thing that we've been trying to get to, is understanding the core of all this ritual stuff and all this magical stuff and all this spiritual stuff, is that understanding that it all requires your energy, you know, and that's where, you know, certain people, you know, they look to the Anunnaki and Enki and Enlil, and they're just loose suckers and stuff like that. And then you look at the demiurge, and all he wants is just, you know, your devotion and your prayer, and he's going to call you a dirty cum rag or whatever it is. It's like, all of these things, they require your fear in order for them to feed off of you. But it also works the other way, that if you feed it, you know, high vibrations and happiness and, you know, love and stuff like that, then it paints an entirely different picture. Maybe instead of, you know, going in fear and seeing the demon, maybe you go in love and you see Jesus, for example. Right.
And that's why there was a guy that had his own podcast way back. He used to talk about tattoos, and that's really why I started listening to him. And during that time, it was like so much more of what I needed in that moment, because they started talking about because he's a real spiritual guy, and he said everything that happens to you or everything that you experience, you're basically volunteering for that. You know what I mean? Because you have the ability, you have the capacity to change anything around you, or just not pay attention, or do something else, or, you know what I mean? Someone says something to you, you don't have to let it bother you. You know, you can transmute that and turn it into something positive and really go inward and you know, come out better even, you know? He would always say like, oh, you know, this thing happened to me and everything was kind of going to shit. And he was actually kind of excited, because he was like, I wonder how this is going to work out for me. Because no matter what, he knew that it was always going to benefit him anyway, you know? And I just like that, listening to that guy, dude, for a long time, that really got me through some of my dark times.
And dude, if you really think about it, like just look at some of the animals in nature, for example. Like let's just say a deer, okay? A deer is known for its animalistic instincts. Obviously, it's an animal. But what is one of those animalistic instincts? It's to react, right? And just react to whatever is coming at you. Like if it hears a little snap of a tree, right? It's just taking off, and it's just reacting to its environment. Now, that's the lower mind, essentially, right? And so you see most people nowadays, they're just reacting at everything. That's why there's so much divisiveness. There's so much polarization amongst everything, because people are just reacting rather than observing. A very, very big difference. And you know, that's a powerful, I know it seems like something so simple, but it is extremely powerful in the moment when you don't react and instead you observe, because there are some people out there that just are, I mean, you want to talk about just like soul suckers, you know, to where they're just searching for your reaction because it gets them fueled up. You know what I'm saying? They say this because they know you're going to react like this.
Yep. Before you know it, dude, you're Dwight Schrute every time Jim restarts his computer and you reach your hand out for a mint, because you're just like, it's just a natural response. You're just reacting to something rather than being aware and going, okay, wait, what are my options? What can I do? And why is this bothering me? Go from there, you know?
And even at the end, Jim, you know, he rang the bell or whatever it was, and Dwight handed out his hand, and
he's like,
Jim's
what are you
like, what are you doing? And Dwight's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly, dude.
That was a great lesson in that show, I think.
Yep.
So yeah. So who is that? Britt said, yeah, probably so. It only. Oh, I already read that. She goes, I totally believe there was a portal there. I think so, dude. But I think that portal's opened by you. Of course, not only opened by you, because like it said earlier, there's a lot of co-creation going on. And whether you want to put a name or a face or a spirit or whatever to it, whatever it is, it probably doesn't give a fuck what you call it in all actuality. But you know, there's the seasonal times, and you know, working with the stars and the phases of the moons, and are you going to be doing it at this time of year whenever it's said to be, you know, thinner at that point? And also, like it said, if you feel the need to connect, is also just as powerful. You know?
Absolutely, dude. That's one thing that I can't quite, for some reason, it's a thing that I'm like trying to figure out, but there's this sense of just this cyclical nature of my mind and whatever that is. And it's just like this back and forth, you know, like I'll throw an input and then I get an output, and it's just this, you know what I mean? A giving and receiving type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's something fun to work with whenever you get the hang of it, though. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Asia said, "I can't get past the initial fear of leaving the room. My body of leaving the room. My body is of leaving the room that my body is in. I always get scared and." I won't make it back, so I never stray too far, but I just float around and observe. Kind of like what you were talking about, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
You were like, oh shit, why is my head on my shoulder?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like losing that sense of what's the most familiar, and the thought of not being able to get back to your body, I feel like is going to be there until you do it, I feel like. And then you're like, oh, okay, I could do this.
Yeah. Britt said, speaking of energy exchange, I feel like the first entities were feeding off of the fear, and then it moved to them trying to feed off serial energy. Energy. That's interesting. Okay. All right. We're going to wrap it up. There's only a little portion left here. We're going to put okay. That's why it didn't make sense. She said serial energy, then she corrected it. It's sexual energy.
Ah, yes.
I'm going to say something, and I'm going to remind me to go back to that sexual energy.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if it's okay for me to even say that. We might. I don't know. We'll see. I might say it off air. I might say it off air. So if you're listening to this the next day on the Cult of Conspiracy or on YouTube or on Meta Mysteries podcast, you want to be a part of this conversation because there's certain things that I just can't put in the open airwaves, right? Yep. Because it's too much. And, well, maybe you want to be a part of this conversation, then go to patreon.com/metamysteries. That link is down in the show notes of every single episode that we do. If you join us for the Wonder Wiz Day tier, you'll be able to have access to come join us every Wednesday night for the Wonder Wiz Day, which is at 9 p.m. Central. You'll also be able to we have several different tiers. We actually have a tier that's only $3.33. If you sign up for that tier, you won't have access to join us on Wonder Wiz Days, but you'll have access to everything else. The show's a couple of days in advance. You'll be able to directly message us on there. Maybe you have suggestions for a show, or maybe you want to share a story or anything like that. You'll always have access to us. But probably the best part is that everything on Patreon is completely commercial free. You're not going to get that anywhere else. Even on YouTube, there's commercials. On, you're listening to the podcast, whether it's on the Cult or on Meta, commercials. And that's just kind of the way that's how we got to make money. And so I know a lot of people don't really like that. So if you're tired of those commercials and all that stuff, then Patreon is the place to be, baby. Yeah, so, and we make it really cheap. The
most appropriate place to put that, man. I like your style.
Oh yeah. You got to look for your cues,
Yeah, you nailed it.
So, all right, we're going to close with this. The Druids' call to remember who you are. So, after listening to all of this, now you know. The Druids were more than forest mystics or wise old men in robes. They were guardians of a spiritual technology so profound that it shook empires, literally. They lived in rhythm with the stars, walked in communion with the earth, and held within them a living library of wisdom, magic, and memory. And while their groves may have been burned and their voices silenced by time, the spirit of the Druid was never destroyed. It simply went underground, waiting for the right souls to remember. Maybe that soul is you. The call of the Druid isn't about going back. It's about going deeper. It's about reawakening your connection to the land, the sky, and the mystery inside you. You don't need an ancient lineage or a secret scroll. All you need is a willingness to listen. Listen to the wind. Listen to your breath, to the whisper of the trees and the fire in your own chest. That's Awen, and it's always been flowing through you. So as we close this sacred circle tonight, take this with you. You are the grove. You are the spell. You are the sacred flame. The path of the Druid isn't found in a book or a temple. It's found in your walk, your words, your will, and your wonder. Step back into the myth. Speak like the bard. See like the seer. Stand like the oak. And may Awen guide your way, always flowing, always present, and always just one breath away. I got goosebumps with that one,
dude. The chills.
Chillsies on that one.
That was a great episode, dude. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Me too. That's back to the roots. That's back to the roots of Meta Mysteries. And, you know, I love having guests on and having conversations and stuff like that. You know, there's always going to be room and always going to be time for that because it always helps to get different perspectives on stuff. You know, we had Brad and Jenny on just recently. They were great. Love them. Right. Yep. And it's cool, like meeting people on their path, and you can kind of see that they were, you know, in the beginning stages, which is why we pulled the full card. Right? Like, and a beautiful card for that. Because
dude, as soon as I pulled it, I was like, of course.
It made sense.
Perfect.
Yeah. And maybe one of them was a little bit farther in their journey, but together they were the full and, you know, going on a journey of their own, which I thought was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole journey, you know, has just been an amazing ride, you know? Like so many things that we've thought we understood, and then, oh, wait a minute, you know what I mean? And you got to take pause and kind of observe it, be the observer, you know, and then you come to another understanding and you're like, okay, I like this a little more, but then you find these other two things and you put those together and it's like, oh, they're kind of the same thing, you know, and then you realize that everything's kind of this just fundamental truth that's kind of underneath everything that we're dipping our toes in occasionally.
I mean, it's all the same thing, just with different names and different ways to get to them. That's it.
That's it.
It's all the same damn thing, man.
I got a tarot card for you guys if you guys are ready for that.
Always ready.
I got actually, you know, I got two. So if you want to do two, you know, let me know. But the first one I pulled was the Ace of Pentacles.
Ooh.
Which I think we will do the second card only because I never pull this card and I'm actually really curious to see what it is.
Ace of Pentacles we actually get quite often.
Yeah, we do. But I feel like it really is dialed in with this episode though. You know, really the Druids trying to connect with the divine or to see through the veil and connect with nature, and I don't know, let's just see.
The Ace of Pentacles. A prosperous new beginning is unfolding for you. Be open to receiving gifts from the divine. The Ace of Pentacles bears the gift of a new beginning, rooted in the element of earth. Here we see the hand of the divine reaching through the clouds to offer a golden coin with a pentacle on it. Beneath the coin, there is a beautiful garden with lush flowers blooming, a symbol of great abundance and prosperity. Here in the garden, you have everything you need to ensure success. Take what you need as you venture beyond the floral archway and out into the world, trusting that you have planted seeds that will take root and ground you through any of life's challenges. Spiritual message behind that, it says you are following a new path of self-care and wellness that leads to vibrant health. Yeah, we get this card all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Keep an eye out for new opportunities to create stability and wealth, such as an inheritance or generous gift. The meaning of this card is new beginnings and abundance. The numerology to it is number 1. It's the ace, new beginning, and the individual. That's the marker we were looking for right there.
It makes me wonder, man, when we get a card like this one that we pull quite often, I'm wondering, you know, not only did, you know, because it did really resonate with the episode, but I'm wondering if it's trying to give me or you or anyone listening this message and we're just not fully grasping it. You know what I mean? It's like it's trying to tell us over and over. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It could just be a reminder.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you get it in the moment, but it's like whenever you hear it several times over, it's like, okay, now I'm starting to get a little bit more. It's like whenever you watch that movie Inception. I've seen that movie 100 times. I see something new every time.
Oh, dude. I watched it like maybe a year ago now, probably. Maybe 8 months ago. I don't know, something like that. Oh my God. I forgot how good it was.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the first time I saw it, I was like, you know, it was an awesome movie. But then I watched it again with like a different lens, or at least where I've come to be now, and I'm like, holy shit, dude. Yeah. You know, talk about being asleep or being in a dream within a dream, and it's like, oh, and time is different. It's like, oh, holy shit, you know.
Oh, 100%.
The other tarot card is actually the Seven of Cups.
Oh.
And the imagery, I don't know, I find it to be super interesting because we were talking, and I could be way off base as far as what it actually means, but my intuition is telling me, you know, because we were just talking about how depending on what you believe in, you know, and it's, so it's the 7 cups, but there's like within the cups, it seems like there's these different objects. There's a snake, there's a dragon, there's like a reef type of thing. But anyway, basically what it tells me is like whatever you're thinking about or whatever you believe in, and they're in the cloud, so it's like almost beyond the veil. It's like that those all of these things are possible. I mean, there's literally like a dragon looking thing, and we were just talking about, oh, we saw our own dragon. But I mean, I could be off base.
How about there's a snake in a cup too?
Yeah,
for the druids.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and also so there's somebody that is in the middle right there that is like, it has like a blanket over its head, but its arms stretched out, but it seems that there's like this red hue around it. Doesn't that look like a mushroom, bro?
It does. That's what I thought it was when I first looked at it, and I was like, oh wait. But yeah, dude. So that's why I figured we should probably look to see what this card means, because I'm very curious.
Oh, this is a good one. Okay. The Seven of Cups. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. Just make sure you understand your choices and have a solid plan before you act on your emotions. Imagining endless possibilities is the activity depicted in the Seven of Cups card. A figure marvels at 7 cups that appear to be emerging from clouds, much like those shown in the Ace of Cups or the... Holy shit. No, we read the Ace of Pentacles. Sorry, we got that mixed up. Much like those shown on the Ace of Cups and the Four of Cups. Are these gifts from the divine, or are they earthly dreams of the figure who views them? Each cup contains a different dream, including wealth, victory, love, wisdom, passion, fantasy, and power. The figure must carefully consider the cost of these dreams and what it would take to make them real. Spiritual message behind it says, take some time to sit with your dreams. Practice stepping into them through visualization or guided meditation. Use elements of your spiritual practice to guide you in your decision-making, helping you choose with your heart.
That's pretty solid, dude.
That's a great card.
Because it was talking about, I might have the wrong words, but it was talking about like the gifts from the divine, and then also the worldly dream, and then the gift, you know what I mean? So it's like this back and forth thing that we were just talking about.
Oh, dude. And that other world does exist. That in the other world exist the dreams and, the pre-manifestation type of things in the other world. And you can pull certain things from the other world. You can pull information, whatever, but you have to pick and choose what you pull from there, because they're all going to be powerful. Right. And so whatever you choose to bring over from the other world, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through sleep paralysis or through dreaming or through psychedelics or through prayer, what we talk about them all. It's like those things are always going to be so powerful and very profound, and they're going to have a major effect on you, so that you got to make sure that whatever you go over there and interpret and want to bring back, that like you're ready for it, because it'll amplify it 100%.
That's awesome, dude. That's a great one. I'm glad we went into that one.
Yeah, that was a good one, dude. So yeah, I guess now what we're going to do, we're going to get over to the meditation. And, there's a couple more messages I wanted to read here from some of the one. Britt said, if you watch YouTube on Brave, on Brave, it's the web browser. So like Google, DuckDuckGo, there's Brave. So if you watch YouTube on Brave, there's no commercials. Oh. How about that?
All right.
That's a hack.
I didn't know that.
I like it.
Oh, yeah. A little loophole.
And Britt said, I totally thought it was a mushroom too.
Yeah. As soon as I looked at it, that's what I thought it was. I was like, wait, I don't remember there being a mushroom on any of these.
Nuh-uh. But I think that was on purpose.
Yeah.
It's too perfect.
Probably. It's symbolically, that's what I saw first. So
yeah, cool. Yeah. And you think about it, whenever you're on mushrooms, it's like you're taking that veil off and that person's wearing the veil shaped like a mushroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, the other world.
The other fucking
nice.
World. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to get over the meditation. We will figure out what kind of meditation it is we're going to be getting into, and you'd be able to be a part of this conversation if you're over at Patreon. So please come check us out over there. But yeah, Sean, final thoughts on this episode, sir.
This was probably one of my favorite episodes. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
With that, and just really getting a better understanding of where the Druids came, because I've heard you bring them up so much, kind of like the Druids, and I'm like, yeah, I know of them, I know nothing about them really, and so I'm really glad that we covered that, because just the whole thing with, everything that they were doing, and then it was just kind of squashed, and it's like, wow, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at this point, but
of course.
I mean, yeah, dude, fun episode.
I really had a good time.
And I need an oak staff. I got that, gotta get that.
We all do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, yeah, look, we're going to get over to the meditation, but as we like to say, if the Druids came here and they taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird.
Stay weird.
Open doors inside your mind. Leave the ordinary far behind. Colors swirl and stars align. In the meta mysteries you'll find.
That was a good one.
That was super nice.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't have any crazy experience, I don't think, but it was very nice to just get my breathing down to this just relaxed state where there was at one point where I was like, oh yeah, I can breathe, let me breathe in again, it's nice when you can get to that.
Yeah, it is nice whenever you can get, like, especially if you can get your breath to go down to like minimal breaths per minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like your voice, like you don't even, it's almost like you don't even need to breathe.
And even those breaths are so minimal. Like you don't even need as much of it.
Yeah, but even
talk about self-medicating.
And whenever you bring in those very minimal breaths, it's like life-giving. You know what I'm saying? The minimalist stuff is, it comes in so easy. Yeah, it's, I felt like my whole body go numb. Like my lips went numb.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, baby, I'm there. I'm there.
Did you feel me tap you on the shoulder? I was trying weird shit.
Oh, really?
I was like, let me try to get out of body. All right, well, I can't do that. Let me see if I can visualize where you're sitting and then visually tap you on the shoulder and be like, what up, baby girl? You know what I mean? But I guess it didn't work, so it's all right. It was my first try. So
yeah. I mean, I did feel several tickles, like behind the knees. I was like, God, is there a fly in here or what?
Right.
But yeah, that was really nice. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was, man. I think that's kind of symbolic. You can really take something from that when you can get your breath that way. It's almost like once you let go and you stop fretting over every little thing and you just kind of accept, and now even breathing is easier, which makes probably everything else easier when you just when you can get yourself to that. It's just so hard, I know, but with everything going on, it could be hard, but I don't know. I think there's something to gain from that. Just that simple little notion,
Yeah, and like you always have the ability to get there. Like that's always accessible. And you don't even...
Why am I not doing that more? Just intentionally, I don't know. I'm never sitting in one spot for the most part. I'm either working or I'm doing dishes or we're doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
I've thought about, like, it would be pretty cool to do like maybe a small 5 or 6 minute meditation before episodes and then do the longer one afterward.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even if we only did it on like Wonder Wiz days.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even if it's not even included in the show, just for the people that are here, just a little private thing.
Because I feel so much more relaxed after that. Yeah.
There's no stress. There's no worries, and sometimes going into an episode, and I really do enjoy, when there's just a few people because it seems just more intimate, but man, sometimes when you go into an episode, you want to do good, you want to say all the right things, but I feel like that's just impossible. It's crazy kind of what we do is say the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be scary. Because you don't know if that thing you're going to say is the stupidest thing anybody's ever heard. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck. And now I'm attached to that. And it's like, remember what that guy said? And probably nobody's thinking that. But, I am.
But you are. Yeah. And that's, I used to think like that a lot, like especially whenever I first started podcasting. And then I got to such this liberating place to where, I'm just going to say whatever's on my mind. And, I'm going to be aware of the words that are coming out of my mouth as often as I can.
Of course.
I'm not going to speak like a belligerent idiot, at least try not to.
Right.
But I want my words to have meaning. And so there's that little pause to to make sure that like the words that are coming out of your mouth are meaningful and have some kind of meaning to them. But yeah, I've gotten to a point where, it's just so damn liberating not caring. Like,
I think it's important to take those pauses, it really is. But a pause on a podcast seems like forever, and so you want to be quick and so you don't lose people. But
what's funny too is that back whenever I was editing, I don't edit, we don't edit these anymore. Louisa edits them now, but before, whenever I would go back and edit, and I wonder if you did the same thing, where I would be in the middle of talking, and there's some days where I'm on, and there's some days where I'm like, my God, you spit it out, like I just can't get
stumbling
my thoughts
over
right,
words,
stumbling over words, all that stuff. And I would, think about like the pauses that I had in searching for the word that I wanted. And in my mind, it felt like an eternity. Right. And then you go back and edit and it's like a second and a half.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah. What was I worried about? Yeah. Yeah. That's a thing. This is kind of like a behind the scenes thing, less so of the meditation, but I don't know. Yeah. Something we have to deal with every day. And I feel like I'm getting better at, taking those pauses, but it's okay to do that. I think
it do be.
So anytime I'm listening to a podcast and I don't do it as often, but I'm not thinking that. I'm not like, oh, this guy's having to think about what he's going to say.
No,
never. I'm just like, okay, he's, I probably don't even notice it at all.
It's just hypercritical. That's it.
Yeah. I'm down to do those meditations before the show on the lives. That'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
Set the tone.
And yeah, you know what? Because that meditation, it had like a really cool image of this figure, walking through the woods, and it seemed like the ground was all mossy and everything. Yeah. And I was like, so I started meditating for like a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And then I opened my eyes and I looked at the image just for a second, just like with the gateway tapes where you open your eyes for a second and then close them. Yep. And I went back in and I like tried to internalize that image. And whenever I did that, I was like, oh my God, this music is really matching the image. I want to walk through, this little forest way right here. And, yeah, it was really peaceful. Honestly, I thought that meditation was way longer. That's why whenever I opened my eyes and it was only at like 10 minutes, I was like, damn, I felt like I've been in deep in this meditation for a hot minute, it felt like.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the few for me that I felt like it was easy for me to forget that we were doing a podcast and there's lights and a camera and, like I just went there, dude. It was so peaceful. And it's really cool, too, because it's actually raining and thundering out like here, like where I'm at. And then that meditation comes on. I'm like, of course. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here?
Synchronicity,
you're connected,
baby.
Dude.
Yeah. You know what it made me think too is like coming up out of that, not gonna lie, I kind of had like just a lazy day today. And before getting on the show, I was like, man, I hope I can bring the energy because I've just been super lethargic today. And then we did the show and went really well. I think it was just the excitement of the information that really woke me up. Also, I was drinking a Monster, so maybe that might have something to do with it. But, but it made me think like after that meditation, that you listen to certain gurus and yogis and stuff like that and swamis, and they're like, yeah, I only need like 2 or 3 hours of sleep every day. And it's like, man, how do you function? But then you think about it, they're meditating several hours a day. How energized,
like rejuvenating. Like, and on top of that, coming out of a meditation, you're not using as much energy on stuff that we probably just frivolously use up on stupid shit.
That's a
meaningless things.
Yeah, that's a good point. But also, like, you're so relaxed, but you're also energized after every meditation. You ever feel that way?
Yeah, like I just took a little nap, dude. That's what I felt like when I was in there. I was like, oh, I just feel like I'm taking like one of those thoughts that came through. Like, I feel like I'm just like napping my body.
Yeah,
but my mind is still here, but my body is asleep.
Solid. Asia said, I saw figures around me working on my soul or light body possibly during the meditation. Felt like an interdimensional mind massage. Wow.
I think Nick has spoke on that before. Remember he was saying that with like they're like working on you and like massaging your brain, and he's like, whenever they do it, I just let them do it. I was like, why not? Why wouldn't you?
I mean, yeah, look, the mantis is there to help, not always to probe,
That's right. Sometimes. Sometimes the probe.
I mean, you never know.
You know?
Sometimes you got to do a little deeper
The
surgery.
mood strikes, you know?
The mood strikes. Little Marvin Gaye's in the background. You know, the mantis is like, oh, shit.
Right.
Let's go.
All right.
We going deep today.
Oh, my God.
That just got weird. Sorry about that.
Yeah, dude. We'll cut that out.
That's out of here.
Yep.
Well, all right. I think we'll wrap this up. Man, what an awesome episode learning about the Druids. That was amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as well.
I definitely did.
So we will see y'all on the flip side.
Bye, guys.
Voices drift on winds untamed. Words like spells that can't be named. Close your eyes